All right, welcome back to Straight Talk, and we are live like we always do on Tuesday night and Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing it all to you. Straight talk, no bullshit. Kyle Naboka. Eh, and it is what it is. I can't argue against facts. I don't try to make a fool out of myself about it. But for me to tell you that you're not a man, you're not a woman, you're not live on this podcast or whatever the case may be, it would be foolish. And so when we're talking on this show, we don't talk out of our ass. We don't talk out the side of our necks. We bring it unfiltered. And to be honest with you, 53 years old, man, I'm done trying to go along to get along. Never did anyways. But you know what? Fuck you. This is how we do. We tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and let it sit. Because it's going to disrupt the devil in some people. It always does. Makes them feel uncomfortable, makes them feel like they're looking into the mirror of disaster, and they are. And as much as we try to be fair and right and just, this is the legacy of this show that we are truly standing on the shoulder of the giants of our ancestors. And our ancestors did not fucking play. People who know me know I don't fucking play. For whatever reason, I don't know. I've gotten in contact with Piers Morgan, all the top brass. I don't want to be white boys who think they know more than they know. And to be honest with you, they don't know shit. They only know what they've been taught to believe. And their whole belief system is full of bullshit. They're not white, they're not Caucasian, they're not Aryan, they're Anglo-Saxon, they're none of that. Or European. They're a bunch of fucking flies landing on shit, thinking they're doing something. They have not created not one world religion or philosophy, and not one world civilization. None. All of these and those were done by black people or brown skinned people. Because to be honest, I'm not black, but due to the nature and narrative of today's world, okay, I can go along with that. But in reality, people who look like me, we're not black. We are what they would call Moors. And this is the name that we went by. We civilized we brought about every civilization on the globe. Egyptian, Aztec, you name it, um, European, Chinese, Asian, all of these things were done by black people. It is not and has never been a world religion. We created every so-called world religion in the world, but it's not a religion. And this is why I say the white boy is not a man. He's an infant with a 5-year-old fucking mindset. Don't know shit, want to act like he knows something, don't know a damn thing. Nothing. It is not a religion. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, all of these things were created by brown skinned or black people. But it's not a religion. It is a way of life to help you find the way of life for you. Some people gravitate toward Buddhism. Some people gravitate toward Christianity. Some people gravitate toward Islam and so on and so forth. All of these has a basic element. 369, what Tesla was talking about and what our ancestors knew already. There's a frequency that you must attune to. That when you are attuning your life to that frequency, and I'm going to get into that in a minute, everything becomes what it is, what it was, and what it shall be. But all of those moments are in the now, the power of the now. What you think, what you speak into existence, and what you do to actualize that existence is what you do. See, this is not something hard to understand. The book, The Secret, is not something that's a secret. We do it all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, manifesting the little things that we want to see in our life, whether it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whether it's a full-blown four-course meal or a six, or I don't know how that you be about that life, and you study, and you create your own recipes and what have you, and that's going to be it. So to create a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you need bread and peanut butter and jelly and a knife or spoon, however you want. I use a spoon, but I don't want to tear into the bread, right? But it's just the same idea. You get up, well, you first you think it, and then you say, "Oh, yeah, I'm hungry. I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." Okay, now put it into action. So the road to manifesting what you want in your life, whether it's $1 million, whether it's a happy family, whether it's whatever, it comes through your actions. And when your actions are attuned perfectly, if I can say perfectly, right, is that is when you start to see changes. Speak it, think it, speak it, and act on it the same manner, the same frequency. And when you do that with a group of people, two or more, you are really beginning to see the power of manifestation, of manifesting what you want to see in your life. It's really not that complicated. But a lot of people say, well, I want a good life. And they choose alcohol, they choose sex, they choose porno film, they choose whores, men and women on the street. And they get what? Nothing. So they talk a good game, but they really don't be about that life. That doesn't mean you have to be perfect. No one is. Only the essence of God is. And as we live through this life, you will come to grips with that. That no one's perfect. But as we grow into a whole nother set of reality that we want, whether it's graduating kindergarten, graduating eighth grade, graduating college, high school, graduating college, or whatever the case may be, those are manifested states. You stayed in school for 8 years, not like one of those brain ones, and you graduated from high school at 8 and go to college at 10. I don't know, but the idea is still the same. Time. Time is of the essence, and it's either on your side or against you. Which one are you going to do? And the thing is that you have to be aware of is the fact of the seven deadly sins. You got to avoid them: greed, gluttony, sloth, envy, pride, wrath, and lust. Now, I'm a Jew. I'm not a Jesus fan, but even in that, there's wisdom. And so when I look at the story of Jesus in the desert with the devil telling them, look over here, you got all of this, that, and the other, glittering like gold and diamonds. He said no, and look toward what he wanted and walk toward that. So you got to uh, walk by faith and not by sight. Otherwise, it'll be for nothing. Otherwise, you'll be directed into a position where you don't want to be in. And that's the whole point. And also, the other flip side to that is really simple to understand. The virtues, integrity, frugality, resoluteness, kindness, all of these things that when you are using them to the best of your ability and to the best of your understanding will attract a lot of people to you. You can attract more people with honey than you can ever do with vinegar. And so when I see these so-called white boys who pretend to be men, and they are pretending, they have literally lived throughout their lives and their parents and their parents, going back 150 years. a lot. Deception, disease. They have only brought four things to the table of humanity: death, destruction, disease, and despair. And so each and every time, damn near, on this show, I'm talking about this because it is facts. How do you deny facts? How do you deny that this white boy, and we're going to get into uh, three videos, the one that I basically show practically every other time that I'm on the show, and the new one that got out called by Steve Cutts called Man, and the other one is called Caucasoid Nation. So we're going to be taking a look at that, and hold on, I'm going to bring it up, share screen, and entire screen, and we're going to get at it. Those three we're going to do first, because those are critical, because they're going to lay the groundwork to what I will be talking about and what I always talk about. This world we're living in is changed. The whole frequency, you guys, has changed. As if a new spirit is upon the earth, a new gathering of people who of the same mindset is upon the earth. That the bones that Elijah talked about is upon the earth. Those bones are coming together. And so, the last time I was on, I was talking about Judgment Day is upon America and the world and white folks. See, you can't do wrong and wrong and wrong and never correct it. Because in reality, pride comes before the fall, and your eyes, white boy, white girl, is covered. Now, I'm not no, what do you call it, a foreseer in the future, or a philosopher, or whatever. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, I'm not one of them. I'm just taking observation of the obvious. And you don't need to be a genius to see this shit. Destruction is here for you, white boy. White girl, you have gone throughout the world fucking shit up, huh? Look about? Oh, okay. And the time to pay up is up. Your days upon the earth is over. You are dwindling fast. The day that not the day, well, in the year that I wrote my book, 2017, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, you guys' birth rate was like 0.09. To maintain your birth population, not birth population, but to maintain your population, you need 2.1 or better. In 2017, black people were like 8 or 9. Now it's like 12. Mexicans 100 to 1. You guys at that moment was like 0.09. You ain't making it. And after your own kind tricked you into taking the vaccine, that shit done dwindled down to about 0.03, 0.02. You motherfuckers ain't making it. You're not going to be. And I'm not talking about another 100, 200. And within 15, your population, based on the vaccine, which is a chemical castration, if it ain't killed you, it just dwindling you guys down to nothing. Not even a bone, to the marrow. And so with all of that being said, I am saying this. You cannot keep doing wrong and expect for right to come to you. That's an old black saying. You reap what you sow. The handwriting is on the wall. Your death certificate was signed, sealed, and delivered, white boy, white girl, 150 years ago when you started this bullshit. The term white didn't come into the legal jargon, I guess, if I can say that, because I'm not an attorney, in 1680. But it had to be preached and taught and preached from every step: school step, library step, political step, Washington, you name it, police step, and you fell right into it. See, that's the setup. God ain't never late, and he's always on time, baby. And when you think you got something going and ain't nobody can talk to you, your heart hardened and your eyes get covered up with pride and you can't see straight, bitch, that's the sign for it. I'm only making up the observation. That applies to black folk too, to Chinese people too, Hawaiian people too, in the South Pacific. It applies to everybody, not person specific or race specific. You got to do right. You want to have right things coming to you. And so tonight we're going to be covering again the video of man, and no, that's not it. It's the first one. Now he came out with the second one. This one is the second one. So we're going to run the first one, and I will be right back. Now I like this guy. To be honest with you, hold on. And he's so matter of fact about it. And sometimes you have to put it in cartoon form for stupid motherfuckers to understand. But you got a childlike mindset, white folk. And so with that one, there ain't nobody else but the white boy and the white girl fucking up shit, laughing and giggling and killing people and killing babies and killing animals and killing the planet. And I've said this 1,001 times. We're sick and tired of you motherfuckers. Sick and tired, beyond sick and tired. Lord have mercy. And you motherfucker don't get it yet. But you're getting it now. You don't fucked around and now you're finding out. The best thing for you to do, is to convert to Islam and understand that philosophy of life. Because to be honest, y'all don't understand Judaism or the African Hebraic way of life, which is what it really is. Tikkun Olam, the healing of the world. You guys are not about that shit. You guys are imposters, faking like you are the real chosen people of God. Billy Graham said who the chosen people of God is, and I've shown that on my show too. I can honestly tell he's not a white boy in that respect. He's a man. See, a real man is going to tell you the truth. They're going to be accountable and hold himself accountable. And if he does anything wrong, he's going to say, I am sorry, and correct that shit. He's going to do what's right, just, and true. See, but this system of wannabe white supremacy, which is really an overreaction to black oppression, really fucks with you people. You don't understand the world around you. You think that everything you say and everything you do in the world is in agreement with you. But believe me, this is from my heart. But I really don't have nothing for you. But this is from my heart for those who want to listen. Listen. The idea that you're the top dog above everything and anything has really proven you to be a clown. A clown. You can't do shit right. You done fucked up. And now you're finding out. Who the fuck gets a country as wealthy as America is and $38 trillion in debt? Who do you owe that fucking money to? I know more than likely the public and the population of America, but I'm just saying. And Europe, just France is $4 trillion in debt. All of Europe, I think, is about $30 trillion in debt. Canada included, and Australia included. So we're looking at the global South, all the brown skinned people. And on February 26, 2026, the United States of Africa comes online. This is it. The sons of Gaddafi, who said in so many words, if you kill me, you'll be opening the door to all of hell for all of eternity. And now look at Europe. Y'all thought that shit was a joke. Look at these motherfucking monkey. Look at these motherfucking monkey. Niggas. Okay. Now, you see, Libya is in control of his son. They joined forces with the AEF. You white boy, white girl, y'all went to sleep for about 100 years. And now, you woke up and you heard all this shouting and screaming and celebrating. That was niggas at the finish line. So it's like the tortoise or the turtle in the hare. Y'all some dumb motherfuckers. How do you set up a system in your favor? You got everything going for you. And you're still behind. You're 400 fucking your stuff. Bitch, sit your fucking ass down because you're dumb little motherfucker. Y'all are just mediocre bitches and bastards. That's it. There's nothing special about you. You steal, you lie, you claim, you blame. There's nothing special about you motherfucker. None. I got a $10,000 bet to anybody that can come on my motherfucking show and tell me about the historical matter or treaty that I wrote in my book, The White Man's Burden is Wrong. Well, just one thing. One thing. And I give you $10,000. If you don't do that, you give me $1,000. That's a 10-for-1 split. And it's been fucking 4 years. What? Yeah, in 2000. No. Oh shit. Damn, I'm counting a lot. 2017 came out. That's three. Or you might work say 2020. So you're talking about 5 years, 6 years, somewhere around there. Nobody's gonna call me. Nobody's gonna come onto my show or invite me on their show to talk about white folks. Because you know you're lying and scheming and conniving. You're not white. That shit was created by Blumenbach and Meisner that got PhD from Harvard and Yale on a lie. On their deathbeds, they said that that lie that they told will come back to haunt their children. And now look at you. Your children, every future generation, white boy, white girl. I'm saying it from the depths of my heart. Your mind will never know a day of peace ever again. Because what you did to my fucking people, the real Jews of the world and people of brown skin, we ain't forgot that shit. We have not forgotten. What goes around comes around. You reap what you sow, bitches. It's not about hate. It's about righteous indignation and seeking justice. We're going to kill you. No if, no ands, no buts about that. Politically kill you, economically kill you, spiritually kill you, and if you raise up a motherfucking gun, you're going to die. See, because all that shit is over. There's no more of that. You're dirty, you're nasty, you're stinking just like you was in Egypt. We killed you and got you out because you were fucking up shit. You don't know what you're doing. We killed you and got you out of Greece and Rome. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. And now, 3 strikes, you're out. Just like in baseball. There's no more talking. See, this is the reason why black folks or brown skin folks are delineated from you motherfuckers. It's yeah. We had enough. There's no more of that Johnny come lately kumbaya bullshit. Fuck you, fuck your mama, fuck your daddy, fuck all your ancestors going back 3,000 years when you first got here. See, because white folk, as we know you to be today, come from Dravidian albino that made it with normal black people. My ancestor put you all in Central Asia because you couldn't act right. You broke past the Hadrian Wall into our Holy Roman Empire, which the papacy was all black anyway, and pushed the papacy into France. And then we got in wars with you. The 10 Years' War, excuse me, the 100 Years' War, you name it. French Revolution, you name it. But I'm here to tell you, a new day has dawned. A new day has been born, birthed into existence. And the new world order is black. See, because the only people who can really put your motherfucking ass down on your goddamn knees is the black man and woman. We're doing it. And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse every goddamn day for the white trash motherfucker. There's a book called White Trash, so get me on it. No, don't do that. I'm just the messenger. Pay attention to the message. All right. So, with that being said, let's get to the next one called Steve Cutts Man, and I'll be right back. Damn. If that don't get it, I don't know what the fuck is. That's the white boy. Steve Cuts is the man, I can tell you that. And you see, if the white motherfucker get up out of here, the world becomes peaceful. You guys are a bunch of disruptive motherfuckers on the goddamn planet. You just are worrisome and worthless. So the next one is called the Caucasoid Mountains. Hold on, I'm gonna put that shit back. And let's get started. It'll be the last one before we get into tonight's episode.
Where are we supposed to go? Back to where you began. The Caucasus Mountains. Build something better there.
Hey, this day right here. This day right here, I swear. This day. Patient.
I don't want to go to the Caucasus Mountains. I want to stay here.
No, bitch, get your little
You
ass
are
up out of
ordered to evacuate peacefully. The mountains await your rebuilding. This is a troglodyte we're dealing with!
Yes, sir.
They're taking us to the mountains. Tell them we're family. They said we gotta leave tonight. They're taking us to the mountains. Tell them we're family. I don't want to go to the Caucasus Mountains. I want to stay here.
All Caucasoid partners report to processing.
She's my family! You can't decide who I love! Move them, now!
You leave tonight to the Caucasus.
Every American citizen of European descent is relocated.
They can't really do this, can they?
For the sake of this nation, they will go. And they will endure.
They're sending us to freeze.
Then we don't freeze. We survive.
We never meant no harm. And you should have said something when harm was done.
Duh.
Where are we supposed to go? Back to the Caucasus Mountain. That was an epic right here, right? I swear, this movie should be real. But I love to see this movie right here, honestly. Back to the Caucasus Mountain you go.
Where are we supposed to go?
Back to
All
where
right.
you began.
Hold on.
The Caucasus.
Now, with those three that you've seen, and I appreciate you guys, whoever you are, for being here. It's time. The universe knows, the heavens know, and everybody on the planet, of this planet that we live on Earth, knows that the only way to bring peace into the world is to fucking kill you. Politically, economically, spiritually, and if and when it's necessary, and it is necessary, physically kill you. Put your ass in the morgue. Because I can say this 1,001 times. And you white devils, and I say devils, don't understand. You love iniquity. You love sin, the seven deadly sins: greed, gluttony, sloth, envy, pride, wrath, and lust. That's Satan. You are satanic in nature. There's nothing good about you. There are no good white folks at all. All of y'all are dirty. The good ones are just there to make it look like there's some good ones. But y'all are all in the same goddamn boat. As my ancestor said, Muhammad Ali, if you have 10,000 snakes outside your door, and out of the 10,000, 1,000 is good, are you going to let them in? To try to figure out which ones are good. You don't let none of them in. You have proven this throughout history since you got here. In Egypt, in Greece, Rome, and now. See, 3 strikes, you're out. 3 strikes, you're out. 3 strikes, you're out. There's no more chances, white boy. There are no more chances, white girl. You don't run shit but your motherfucking mouth. You've always done that shit. And when you get checked by the black man or woman, you start crying like a bitch. White Fragility. It's a good book. It's a good book. You need to read that. White Trash. That's a good book. You need to read that and to read mine. The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, 1 and 2. Book 1 deals with why white people hate black people so much. And book 2, Understanding White Supremacy and what that is. White supremacy had nothing to do with you being superior to nobody. You ain't superior to nobody. White supremacy, white superiority is a fake ass mentality that can be broken in 1 second just by holding up the mirror of truth to you guys. Dick Gregory had a little white boy came up to him and said, "So, sir, my mama said you all grow tails." And Dick Gregory looked at the little boy and said, "Yeah, you tell your mom you're right, but that she's right. We do grow tails, but our tails grow on the front. You got tails grow on the back." True. You guys do grow tails. You just like 30% of you, 25-30% of you grow tails. You get them cut off. Go ahead. Okay. Oh, okay. No. Okay. No. No quiero. No quiero. Ófetelo a tu mamá. Vete. So, yeah. So, when all is said and done, and your life comes to an end, white boy, white girl, what are you going to be able to say to the populace? Because you guys are about 7.9 billion people in the world. There's about 80 million of you motherfuckers, worthless bitches. There ain't no 1.5 billion of you. You guys are the minority in the world, pretending and faking like you're the majority. You're not. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. And so, I'm not here to try to make you feel good, fuck your feelings, fuck your emotions. I'm only here to speak the truth and speak it to power. Period. I'm not your fucking friend. I'm not your enemy either. But I can guarantee you your worst enemy is you. Because you are so prideful that you cannot see your own destruction. If you do see it, you don't think it's going to happen. But it's happening right in front of you. You see, white boy, nobody ain't scared of you. Who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Mother Africa is now woke. All of the nations of Africa will be united on February the 26th, 2026, with all of its resources going to work for her and her children worldwide, in the diaspora and on the continent. You're done. You done sat on your ass and did nothing, thinking that, you can always depend on black folks' money and resources. Now, the time has come. The end is here for you. There's nothing you can do about it. President Trump just bombed Nigeria in hopes of a proxy war. And get the fuck out of here. See, if you can't beat them, join them. The white boy, look, come here. Charlie Cook, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, I'm here on my podcast, and I'm talking to your people, trying to make them see what they do see. But Charlie, look. Yeah, well, I know. What Predator? Wait. I know. You had an opportunity to do the right thing, but you talk your own death into existence. Now you're a dead motherfucker. You're not in heaven. You're. Hold on, wait. Don't move. Where you going, Charlie? You're not in heaven. You're in hell. Hell means disdain, disgust, and hate. from everybody don't give a fuck about you. That's hell. Your name is being dragged through the mud because you ain't shit and you wasn't shit then. You ain't shit now. You really ain't shit now. Charlie, wait. Oh, he left. Okay. So some people can take it, some people don't. But anyway, for those of us who are alive, whew, I do not know what to say anymore. Hold on. So we're going to go on, excuse me, we're going to go on to the next one. Hold on. These are shorts. We were here before slavery. Is this little short one. So with that being said, I just want you guys to understand. I try to avoid saying it, but you so-called want to be white people of today. You guys are just niggas. The bleached out niggas, the worst troglodyte niggas in the world. You guys are black people. You just don't have as much melanin as I do. But instead of saying that, instead of being humble, instead of being knowledgeable, instead of, and some of you are, I'm not going to say all of you, you just went off the deep end with this white bullshit angle. So now that angle, that door is shut and sold it down. It ain't gonna never happen. It ain't gonna never open. The opportunity to do that was long ago. And so pride that'll come before the fall. There's no more kumbaya. There's no more I'm gonna hold hands. There's no more that. And to be honest with you, you can take a straw, a long straw, stick it in your ass, and drink the creamy brown shit out that motherfucker. I give no fucks. And I can honestly speak for the rest of my people. We don't give a fuck about you. Never did, to be honest with you. Never did. Because we know who you are and what you are. In the atolls in the Pacific, you guys bombed that motherfucker 63 times. Not 1, not 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 63 times. Although the black people who were living in that area, they had to come to the mainland of Hawaii. Not the mainland of the United States, or Hawaii. That died in the ocean was over. They tried to live off, and white folk were giving them canned food. That's not the motherfucking diet. Who the fuck are you to try to say what's good? There are no more Tasmanian people on the planet. You guys killed them all. The last man that you killed, you cut off his testicle sack and turned it into a tobacco pouch. There are over 20,000 decapitated black people's heads in France, in the museum. What kind of motherfucking shit is that? You guys fuck each other, eat and drink the piss and shit, vomit it back up and having sex in that motherfucker again. Now, I didn't believe that the first time, but that was like years ago. I think it was like in the early 2000s when I found out that was true. There's a video called Two Girls in a Cup. One girl put the cup up under her ass, and it came out like ice cream. They were eating it. I damn near fell out and vomited. Because I just knew that the person who told me that shit was lying. It did not lie. You guys are scandalous. The same shit you did in Greece and Rome, fucking little boys and fucking each other in the ass, you're doing now. You're doing it now. France has a president, Macron, who has a man and wife that's fucking each other in the ass. So that filtered down into general society. All of the royals or families of Europe have done this. 600 of the senators and congressmen in the United States are associated with, in some kind of way, form, or fashion, with the Epstein case. You guys are just fucking, what's the word, reprobated mindset. You don't know any better. You don't have anything better to do other than to fuck around. Little boy, you're famous with that. Little girl, you're famous with that. Raping men, women, and old people. Sex trafficking. And now, sex doll. White boy want to have a baby with a sex doll. It's not me. And so, like I said on the last show, that was what today is Saturday night, so that was Tuesday night. I was saying that American white folks are under judgment. Hear me and hear me fucking well. There will be no more America as we know her to be today. There will be a catastrophic event, better known as the earthquake, better known as volcanic eruption in the national park, better known in Seattle or what's the name of that mountain? I can't remember. But there's a 50,000 square mile fault line in California, and hold on. No, I'm sorry. I don't know how long it is, but there's a fault line in California that did 50,000 square miles of damage. That was in 1916, I think, 12. Don't quote me. And the one in the Midwest that runs from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to Illinois did 1 million square miles of damage in 1812. So there wasn't really anything on the fault line in 1812. But today and after investigating, there are 15 to 20 nuclear power plants that's right on the fault line or very, very, very close to it. Can you imagine the hell that would be unleashed upon America when that happens? Not if, but when that happens. Devastating, among other things that's going to happen. So America, you really need to check this out. We need to take care of our veterans, our elderly, our homeless. There's no fucking reason to have people who are hungry or who are homeless. There's a bean called the Bambara groundnut that fed for thousands of years older civilizations, especially in Africa, where you find the Bambara groundnut. There are so-called weeds that are not weeds that have more vitamins and minerals than oranges and other things, and we're killing it with weed killing because we've been set up to believe that it's weed. It's not weed. It's very wholesome to eat, saving a lot of people's lives that would normally starve. And so it's just amazing how this white boy has fucked up the world, all for corporate greed. So, hold on. So we're going to go to the next short, and I'll be right back. We were here before slavery.
History in America began with chains, but that's not true. Centuries before Columbus, Mansa Abubakari II sent a fleet into the West. It's said they reached Mesoamerica. The Olmec heads depict their legacy, African features etched in ancient stone, gold from Africa found in Mexico. And in North America, black tribes walked these lands long before a single European flag was planted. Estebanico the Moor explored the Southwest before Jamestown ever existed. But when slavery was codified, everything changed. Their rights vanished. Their land was stolen. Many were enslaved. Others erased from history entirely. But the truth still lives. Black people were here before they brought the rest of us on ships, before colonization, before America. And their story, it will be told. They want you to believe black history in America
So we're going into the deeper depths of the videos that I want to talk about tonight. But I really want you guys who are listening, I appreciate you guys for being here, to think, slow it down, analyze, be precise with the dates and the times and the areas in which we are talking about. We're going to be talking about in even more depths as this show grows, and hopefully it will come on and become a behemoth, if I'm saying that correct, a behemoth of a show. Okay, we're here to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right. So hold on. So this one is 12 minutes long. I don't really have too much to say other than keep it moving. I don't care if you move one half of an inch, you still moved. But the idea is for us as a whole to speak truth to power. That's all I'm doing. I don't care about my feelings and my emotions, your feelings, your emotions. What I care about is the goddamn truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So let's get it moving, and I'll be right back after 12. Be right back.
You all watching my last video, Memoirs of John Mackey, where we examined first-hand descriptions of nobility and lords as they were recorded in the period itself. Those descriptions matter because they come from the people who were there, before modern racial categories were imposed backward onto history. We have been conditioned to believe that all dark-skinned or black people originate exclusively from Africa. That assumption is not historical fact. It is a modern narrative. Its function has been to obscure the true origins of a significant portion of the black American population by collapsing diverse ancestral lineages into a single geographic explanation. When we look at the surnames carried by black Americans, names that are often dismissed as slave names, we find something else entirely. Many of these are foundational black European surnames, predating the plantation system itself. They are tied to populations that existed in the British Isles long before later incursions from northern Germany and the southern Baltic region, a movement described in detail by Sir Boyd Dawkins. This is why primary sources matter. Passenger lists, court records, and contemporary descriptions reveal populations described as black, brown, swarthy, and tawny. People with skills, trades, and identities being absorbed into the colonial labor system. These records do not support a simplistic origin story. They point to a far more complex reality.
Hold on.
William Boyd Dawkins, one of Britain's leading 19th century archaeologists, was explicit about the earliest people of the British Isles. In Early Man in Britain, Dawkins states that the first known inhabitants belonged to a dark, long-headed race, allied to the Iberians of Spain and the Basques of the Pyrenees. In Cave Hunting, he goes further, describing these people as small in stature, dark in complexion, and buried in Britain's long barrows, before being driven westward by later invading populations. Dawkins did not describe extinction. He described displacement. He notes that the physical characteristics of these early Britons still survived in Ireland, Wales, Western Scotland, and parts of England. This is not modern interpretation. This is 19th century scholarship based on skeletal remains, burial sites, and archaeological evidence long before race was politically reframed. The earliest Britons were not described as tall, fair, or northern. They were described as dark, indigenous, and foundational. The Jacobite prisoners of 1747. History is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it simply lists. What you are looking at is not a theory. It is not commentary. It is not interpretation. It is a state document. 150 names, captured, measured, and written down. This list is titled An Exact List and Description of 150 Rebel Prisoners transported
Here in 1747, aboard the ship Veteran, these men were Jacobites, supporters of Prince Charles Edward Stuart. After the Rising failed, execution alone was not enough. The British state had a problem. Too many prisoners, too many sympathizers, too many regions still loyal. So the state chose another solution: transportation, not exile for reflection, but removal for use. Look at the page, names, age, trade, county, and then a column titled Remarks. That column is not emotional, it is functional. It describes bodies. This list exists because transportation was not random, it was policy. Men were selected based on age, health, and physical capacity. That is why height is recorded. That is why strength is noted.
Now let me point this out. According to the white boys, black people in America got slaves in them. That's not true. These troglodyte motherfuckers want to be human because they're not human either. They're humanoid. They're caucasoid. They like Caucasian. They like human. They didn't have a first name, damn near, and they definitely didn't have a surname, last name. They got their names from us, from black people.
That is why complexion appears. These were not social observations, they were logistical classifications. Across the list, the same words appear again and again and again. Black, brown, swarthy, lusty, pock-pitted. This is 18th century Britain describing bodies. Take William Bell, a weaver from Berwick. The state records him as black curled maid. Not as metaphor, not as politics, as appearance. Because in this same list, the state also records pale, fair, red-haired, sandy-haired. These words are not interchangeable. They are comparative physical descriptions, written casually, repeated consistently, without explanation, which tells you something important. The clerks assumed the meaning was obvious. Notice where these men come from: Perthshire, Inverness-shire, Aberdeenshire, Angus. These were not marginal regions. They were Jacobite strongholds, areas with long military traditions, deep clan structures, and inherited loyalty networks. Transportation did not just punish rebellion, it drained it. Notice the professions: weavers, laborers, servants, fiddlers, writers. This was not accidental. Skilled labor had value overseas. Transportation converted resistance into productivity. Then there is the word lusty. Today, people flinch at it. In 1747, no one did. Lusty meant strong, able-bodied, fit for labor. This list was not about mercy, it was about utility. Earlier in this book, when the prisoners are discussed politically, physical description disappears. Titles are named, trials are recorded, executions are listed. But here, in transportation records, the body returns. Because once a man is reduced from subject to cargo, his physical form becomes relevant. This is not moral language, it is inventory language. And then the document pauses. Just once, one man is singled out: George Hume, a writer from Edinburgh. The state marks him plainly, a black man, and then adds, his color would no doubt suit the West Indies. That sentence matters, because here the state makes a distinction. Not implied, not debated, written. The list also records scars, again and again. The phrase pock-pitted, smallpox scars, identifiers, before photographs, before papers. The body was the record. The book makes repeated reference to the West Indies, not as opportunity, but as destination. Martinique, plantation labor, colonial extraction. These lists exist because colonial economies demanded bodies. What emerges here is not a story. It is a system, a defeated population converted into labor, measured, described, sorted, sprightly fiddlers, sickly servants, lusty laborers, all bound for Martinique. This is not revision, this is administration, and administration records reality without hesitation. We have another primary source in the form of an essay written by Benjamin Franklin in 1751. The essay is titled Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind. This essay is
Now you got to remember too, if you do remember, or if you don't know, I must tell you, Benjamin Franklin was a runaway slave. He had death up the asshole.
It's widely available for free in PDF format. Archive.org is a great place to get it if you want a copy. Why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlements, and by herding together establish their languages and manners to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens, who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs, any more than they can acquire our complexion? 24. Which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionably very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so, and in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also, the Saxons only excepted, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. I could wish their numbers were increased. And while we are, as I may call it, scouring our planet by clearing America of woods, and so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus, why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity, by excluding all blacks and tawnies, of increasing the lovely white and red? But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural to mankind. These primary source documents give us a very different picture of what the populations of people coming in from Europe really look like. There is another documented case that illustrates this reality with striking clarity, the story of Sally Muller. She was a German child who arrived in Louisiana in the early 19th century with her family as part of a large migration of skilled Europeans. Her father was a shoemaker and her uncle was a locksmith, trades requiring precision, literacy, and mechanical knowledge. These were not unskilled people. They were artisans. After the devastating voyage, during which most of her family died, Sally disappeared as a small child. Decades later, she was discovered living in New Orleans as an enslaved woman, known simply as Sally. When identified by fellow Germans, it was revealed that she had been held in bondage for years. In court, witnesses testified that they had assumed she was colored or mixed, and even stated they had seen enslaved people lighter than she was. Her enslavement was not questioned because of appearance, but accepted as normal. Sally Muller ultimately won her freedom by proving her identity, not because slavery was reserved for Africans, but because her European origin disrupted the legal fiction. Her case exposes what the records quietly show. Race was fluid, appearance was deceptive, and skilled people, black, brown, swarthy, and tawny, were routinely absorbed into the labor system that built America. Let's take a moment to recap and use our critical thinking. Think about the narrative that we have been given over the years. When we step back and examine the record as a whole, passenger lists, court cases, architectural evidence, and first-hand descriptions, we are forced to confront a simple reality. The story we were taught does not align with the sources. The foundations of early America were not built by an illiterate population void of history, language, or skill. They were built by people who already possessed these things. The presence of skilled craftsmen, literate artisans, and trained tradesmen among those expelled to the colonies explains far more than mythology ever could. It explains the continuity of European building traditions, the precision of early mechanical systems, and the immediate appearance of complex architecture in the so-called New World. This is why laws against literacy existed, not to prevent the impossible, but to suppress what already was. We follow the surnames. When we read how people were described in their own time, black, brown, swarthy, tawny, we see populations that predate the narratives later imposed on them. These were not people without origin. They were people whose origins were deliberately obscured. History does not disappear. It gets buried. And when we return to the sources, the record speaks for itself. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing to stay up to date with the evidence and insights we continue to uncover.
Wow, that deep, right? So let me, hey, brother Willie, I really appreciate you being here, man. Where were you at in the beginning? That's what I want to know. But yeah, like always, I appreciate you being here for everybody that's here. And hopefully and thankfully, on you guys' part, that you guys are really getting something out of this. And I love doing it. And I'm not going to falter, not one bit. To my last dying breath, I'm going to be here. Yeah, down. I want to be here. ¿Qué fue con el atún? No hay atún. No, ahora sí. So I'm gonna cut off the video because I'm gonna eat a little bit. But so I know you guys don't want to see me feeding my fat ass mouth. I'm not fat, but you know what I'm saying. But the idea is still the same, man. I appreciate you guys being here and everything, week after week, and hopefully that you know. No, it's pepinillo. Okay. So I got me some tuna. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. Hold on, I'm gonna say goodbye to our host. My tarde, oíste. Bye bye, mama. Bye bye. Él está ahí, afuera. Okay. So, where was I? So, yeah, I'm hoping that you guys are really getting something out of it. It's only, huh? ¿Qué pasa? So, it only takes one to see something like we do here on the show to really burn a hole through the world and getting it back right. And that's the whole point. Setting fire to all the lies, the fire of truth, to get rid of it. Because we're in a battle, man. The battle of good and evil, of God and Satan. Because these people we call white are just knee deep to a gopher's ass in Satanism. Satanism is the worship of the seven deadly sins: greed, gluttony, sloth, envy, pride, wrath, and lust. White folks, the white boy can't help but to do it. They did this shit in Greece and Rome, fucking each other in the ass and little boy, and women, and killing, as they did in Egypt. But our forefathers and mothers killed them and got them out, and told these motherfuckers on the way out, if you come back here, your head will roll. They never came back. So, and this is what we're facing now, you guys. This is not a joke. The white boy and the white girl, white folks around the globe, they're scared than a motherfucker. Because they don't want to happen to them and their children and their children. But it's gonna be what it's gonna be. For eternity, you're gonna be shitted on and pissed on and spat on and going through hell on earth. You didn't give a fuck about my ancestors. Laughing and having string up parties or hanging parties and little bitch motherfucking white boys and girls out there, little kids, hemming and humming and smiling from ear to ear and taking souvenirs of people's foot and fingers and skin and eyeballs. You didn't give a fuck. So why should we? And we don't. See, this is why my people are saying, I bet. When we say I bet, you better believe, white boy, that when it's our turn, we're going to fuck you up. Because you deserve that shit. You didn't give a fuck about our old women and men, our children, our babies, feeding them to alligators and shit. Oh, Billy Bob, did you see that? I shot that nigga's brains out. Okay. All right. Cool. No problem. No. And now the tables have turned, bitch. Africa is united, motherfucker. The diaspora is coming online. And woe be unto your ass. Because there is nothing that you can do. White Jesus can't save your funky asses. And Trump can't save you. So, hold on. Let me get back to this. We're going to cover this one. This is 9 minutes. This changes everything. Ibrahim Traore delivered what others failed. I'll be right back. Oh,
What if
I'm
the
gonna hold
country
on.
they told you
I'm gonna go right into hold on. Oh shit. I'm gonna go right into eating now. Excuse me. I'm gonna cut off the feed. So and then I'll be right back once I get through eating. I'm sorry. And let's continue.
was collapsing, was quietly becoming one of Africa's strongest economic stories? What if the nation, surrounded by conflict headlines, was sitting on a golden breakthrough that just rewrote the script? And what if the leader many foreign outlets dismissed was, in fact, delivering results that decades of so-called experienced presidents never could? Today, that question has an answer. Welcome back to Power and Pulse. And to our loyal subscribers, thank you for standing with us. This is where Africa's real story is told, without filters, without permission, and without apology. Tonight's breaking news comes out of Burkina Faso, and it is shaking economic and geopolitical circles far beyond West Africa. Because for the first time in its history, Burkina Faso has officially hit 100 tons of gold production in a single year, meeting its 2025 annual target ahead of schedule. And what comes next is even bigger. Burkina Faso has done what many said was impossible.
Now hold on. I've seen and heard that Liberia has stumbled upon 12 damn $12 trillion, trillion with a T, motherfucker. And not all the gold. It ain't gonna never be found. All the gold. We're rich, bitch. Hold on.
In a region long portrayed as unstable, unsafe, and economically fragile.
This is day one of my husband doing Tai Chi workouts. This is day
The country has reached 100 tons of gold production by the end of 2025, a historic milestone that confirms one undeniable truth. Burkina Faso's mining sector is not just alive, it is accelerating. This achievement arrives at a moment when global gold prices have surged to record-breaking highs, with 1 kilogram of gold now trading at approximately 80 million CFA francs on the international market. That is a 73% increase since the start of the year. Let that sink in. This isn't just good timing, this is strategic positioning. At a moment when global economies are wobbling, currencies are under pressure, and trust in fiat systems is eroding, Burkina Faso is sitting on one of the most valuable assets on earth, gold, and it is extracting it on its own terms. Gold is not just a metal. Gold is power. Gold is leverage. Gold is sovereignty. For decades, African countries produced gold while others set the prices, owned the refineries, controlled the exports, and pocketed the real profits. Burkina Faso was no exception, but something has changed. Under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traore, the country has shifted from passive extraction to active economic strategy. This is not about digging deeper holes. This is about who controls the value chain. And now, with security conditions steadily improving across key mining regions, Burkina Faso is preparing for something even more ambitious. The government has confirmed that gold production is projected to triple by the end of 2026. Triple. From 100 ton to numbers that would place Burkina Faso among Africa's most dominant gold producers.
Man, fuck it. I had to laugh on that because you ain't seeing me laugh. So fuck it. I'm gonna eat, and you guys are going to watch me eat. I'm sorry, but triple 300 Motherfucker. Hold on. Let me wind that back up.
The government has confirmed that gold production is projected to triple by the end of 2026. Triple. From 100 tons to numbers that would place Burkina Faso among Africa's most dominant gold producers. Let's be clear about something the headlines often ignore. You cannot grow a mining sector without security. And you cannot improve security without sovereignty. For years, Burkina Faso was told it needed foreign military partnerships, foreign oversight, and foreign guidance to stabilize the country. Yet instability persisted. But under Ibrahim Traoré, the approach changed. Instead of outsourcing security, Burkina Faso reclaimed it. Instead of dependency, the country invested in national defense, intelligence coordination, and regional cooperation within the alliance of Sahel states. And as security improved, something critical happened. Mining operations expanded, investor confidence increased, production stabilized, and national revenue began to rise. This is not coincidence. This is cause and effect. Now add another layer to this story. The global price of gold has skyrocketed. With geopolitical tensions rising worldwide, central banks stockpiling reserves, and investors fleeing uncertainty, gold has reclaimed its status as the ultimate safe haven. At 80 million CFA francs per kilogram, Burkina Faso's gold is now worth more than ever before. This means higher national revenue, stronger fiscal buffer, increased capacity for infrastructure investment, greater independence from foreign debt, and perhaps most importantly, freedom of choice. When a country controls valuable resources at peak market value, it gains something priceless: the ability to say no. Here's the part many critics struggle to accept. In just 3 years in office, Ibrahim Traoré has achieved milestones that other African leaders failed to reach in 30, 40, even 50 years.
Here's how developers at Perplexity and NVIDIA are prompting AI 10 times faster. You're prompting Cursor over 100 times a day.
Years. Let's recap. Improved national security coordination, reclaimed control over strategic sectors, strengthened regional alliances, boosted domestic production, accelerated economic growth, positioned Burkina Faso as Africa's fastest growing economy. And he did this without IMF dictates, without Western financial tutelage, without selling national sovereignty. This is not rhetoric. These are results. Growth statistics are often thrown around casually, but context matters. Burkina Faso is growing despite sanctions pressure, growing despite security challenges, growing despite hostile media narratives. That kind of growth is not accidental. It reflects strategic planning, resource, nationalism, policy, discipline, leadership, clarity. When growth happens under pressure, it signals resilience. And resilience is the foundation of long-term power. What does 100 tons of gold really mean for ordinary Burkinabe citizens? It means roads funded internally. It means schools built without foreign loans. It means hospitals equipped without strings attached. It means salaries paid without austerity mandates. Gold, when controlled nationally, becomes a tool of transformation, not exploitation. And that is the direction Burkina Faso is moving. Step by step, policy by policy, mine by mine. Burkina Faso's achievement sends a clear message across the continent. You do not need permission to prosper. You do not need external approval to grow. You do not need to remain poor while sitting on wealth. What you need is leadership with courage, policies rooted in national interest, control over strategic resources, confidence to chart your own path. This is why Burkina Faso's story matters far beyond its borders, because it challenges the myth that Africa must always be dependent to survive. Let's be honest, not everyone is celebrating this milestone. There are interests that thrived when Burkina Faso was weak. There are systems that benefited from instability. There are narratives that collapse when facts emerge. A self-reliant Burkina Faso is inconvenient. A gold-rich Burkina Faso is disruptive. A confident Burkina Faso is dangerous, not to its people, but to outdated power structures. And that is precisely why this story deserves attention. With production targets set to triple by 2026, the next phase is critical. The focus now shifts to local refining capacity, value addition, revenue transparency, long-term economic planning. If these pillars are strengthened, Burkina Faso will not just be a gold producer, it will be a gold power. Burkina Faso's gold breakthrough is not just about numbers on a chart. It is about dignity reclaimed. It is about potential unlocked. It is about a nation proving that leadership still matters. When a people have a leader who believes in them, growth becomes inevitable. When a country controls its resources, its future becomes negotiable on its own terms. This is not the end of the story. This is the beginning of a new chapter, not just for Burkina Faso, but for Africa as a whole. And here on Power and Pulse, we will continue to tell these stories boldly, honestly, and without compromise. If you believe Africa deserves control over its destiny, like this video, if you support leadership that delivers results, share this story. And if you want to stay informed as Africa reshapes its future, subscribe to Power and Pulse, because the pulse of Africa is changing and the power is finally coming home.
¿Ves este clavo?
No, hold on.
Puedes imaginar.
Now, I've said this, that on February the 26th, 2026, Africa as a United States of Africa comes online. Now, if you go back and look at some of my older videos, I was basically basing my podcast on one channel that YouTube took down. It's called Supreme African Breaking News. Excellent journalism, excellent coverage. It took all of those down. I'm glad I had an opportunity to talk about them, quite a few of them. But what I should have done, which I didn't see it happening after they took all of the video down, that they came back out as something African news, something. But anyway, at that moment, it should have hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh shit! I better try to cover as many of these videos and save them to be used later. But I didn't, man. And YouTube took all those videos down. Not my videos, but the videos of them. And when I tell you that Africa has its own submarines, warships, and all, these are not no rinky-dink ass motherfuckers. NATO wanted to come into the Atlantic Ocean. Africa said, "Get your motherfucking asses up out of this ocean. This is ours. This is the black man and woman ocean, bitch." We took over the Suez Canal. We took over the Indian Ocean. The NATO warships that were in the ocean told them point blank, "You move one more motherfucking step, we're gonna fuck you up." They all left except for one. That one warship got sunk with all and everybody on that bitch. They are sleeping very well at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Also, there was a time when the U.S. warship was in the Indian Ocean, and Africa told that warship to get the fuck out of here. They got out. There's a lot of things that they were covering. Man, when I tell you that this is a new day, that white boy, your ass is in a sling and you cannot get out. Your children will never know another day's rest, mentally speaking, and their hearts will run with fear. when you see a black man, black woman, black people, you better hold your motherfucking head down and look at the ground. I'm serious as a fucking heart attack about that because it's wartime, bitch. It's wartime. You wanted this war, economic, political, spiritual, and physical. You're gonna get it. You're getting it now. And it's just getting worse. And you're scared than a motherfucker because right now, Castle, Jacob, today, at the end of the day, Cayo, I got my son, two came out. Benica. Ay, ven acá. Show la gente. Open your mouth. Ah, right there. Look at that. Okay. Well, he's getting older, and I'm getting older. No, déjalo ahí. Voy a ponerla en la cajita. So, white boy, you're done. You're going to be disenfranchised. You're going to be, when all your wealth is taken from you, all that shit gone. It's coming right back to where it should have been all along. You fake ass Jew that collected hundreds of billions of dollars, whatever the fuck it is, that belongs to me and my people. But don't trip. The world know who you are, bitch. The world know you're not the real Jew. You're faking motherfucker. Let me see. Okay. Can you guys see that? Oh, you got it. Got a tooth out. Oh, that's it. Okay. So, man, I just don't get this white boy. I know my people. I know. How do you do this shit for generations, thinking you'll get away with it? You have got to be the dumbest motherfuckers on the goddamn planet. You are dumb. Ain't none of y'all smart because you get your smartness from black people, bitch. We the one who taught you how to walk and talk and take a bath. We're the one who civilized you 3 times. We're the one who taught you how to eat cuisines and other things and stuff like that. You guys didn't do that shit. So it was a waste of motherfucking time for my ancestors to civilize you motherfuckers because you still don't get it. You still don't take a bath like you're supposed to. Once or twice a week you'll take a bath. Your ass stank motherfucker every day. Tráeme eso, porque ¿dónde tú vas con eso? ¿Ah? Déjalo ahí. Voy a ponerlo ahí. So, sorry about that. So, it just, I've tried not to think about this shit. How can you be that motherfucking dumb? See, because the more you think about dumb shit, the dumber you become. Let that motherfucker go, man, because that white boy and that white girl, they confused in a motherfucker. Straight up, man. Cut them loose. Turn them loose. Turn your back to these motherfuckers. Delineate from these bitches. Because the more you try to hold hands with these bitches, the more they'll stab you. Fuck them. Let them drown. Because without us, they drown. With us, without them, we keep multiplying and creating wealth. If you think Saudi Arabia created billionaires with the oil, China with whatever, and Japan, you ain't seen shit yet. You talking trillionaires by the hundreds that's going to be created. And when we take over Europe economically and start to infiltrate politically and creating large policies and regulations that limit their motherfucking asses, because we already know they're violent. It is best to create laws, policies, and regulations against them and to hold them down. Because we've been through this before. In Egypt, Greece, Rome, and now. We know they're violent. Before 1965, 90% of the people in jail were white. We know they are violent. We know that they are pedophiles. We know that they are murderers. We know. And when we get control, when we get control, it's all over. See, because everybody is seeing through this veil of deception. The white boy and the white girl are playing they played a really good game of the Wizard of Oz. See, but all you gotta do is pull the curtain back and you see the little bitch ambassador of a man and woman, acting like 5-year-olds. And that's what they are. They're incapable of being adults. Incapable. Not possible. Not possible ever. Because they don't have it in them. And a lot of people are talking about the Republican Party, which is a black party in the beginning in the 1860s under Abraham Lincoln. It didn't become the MAGA Party until after in the 1960s he was the one who signed the Civil Rights Bill. I can't think of the name of it. If anybody knows, please put it in the comment. Let me know. But he said that he gonna make niggas vote Democrat for the rest of their life, for the next 200 years. He ain't never lied because once that changed, all of the white people, hardcore KKK members, abandoned the Democratic Party and came over to the Republican Party. This is the reason why it is hell bent on what it's saying and trying to do. And this is the reason why J.D. Vance said what he said. There's no need to feel, if you're white, they don't need to feel guilty or some kind of bullshit. See, this is the mentality of these children. They don't know how to be men and women of accountability, of integrity, of character. They don't. Because it's been in their favor for so long, they figure, I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing. And fuck you niggas. Fuck you jigaboo. Fuck you jungle bunny. Look at that jungle bunny over there. Look at that nigga. Don't you wish you were white now, bitch? No. I love my brown skin. You wish you were black. That's what the real deal is. Because if you really have a love for yourself and love for humanity, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You do what you do and did what you did and will do what you continue to do out of fear. Because you don't know how to do and be. You really don't. A person who is superior will help other people become superior. And that is out of the love for the greater good of humanity. The summum bonum. Sir. And so, no, white boy, your skin is not a guarantee of greatness or being great or will be great. It is a curse. So let me go on to the next one, and I'll be right back. It's not that long, and I'll be right back.
The Black Viking who became a king. Stop looking for Vikings only in Scandinavia. You're looking in the wrong place, and you're looking for the wrong people. History didn't just forget the Black Vikings. It tried to erase a legendary king. In the 9th century, one Viking ruler stood at the center of power across the Irish Sea. His name was Eymar, known to history as Ivar of Dublin. He didn't just raid. He was a conqueror who took what was his. He became the king of Dublin and the king of Northumbria. He was the architect of the Uí-Eymir dynasty, a black Viking bloodline that ruled Ireland, Scotland, and northern England for centuries. Power flowed across the Irish Sea under his lineage. This was real, organized power, not legend. The Irish annals are the most accurate records of the era and place him at the heart of Viking power in Ireland and Britain. In the 9th century, the Irish annals didn't see one Viking group. They saw two, the Fingal, the fair foreigners, and the Dubh Gaul, the black foreigners or Vikings. The records are clear. These weren't just nicknames. They were factions based on appearance and power. Dublin rose as a power center during this era. Dublin itself takes its name from this period, tied to the Dubh, the black Vikings who made it a power base. Modern textbooks tell you Dublin means black pool, but the history tells a different story. Dublin rose as a Dubh Gaul stronghold. It was the capital of a black Viking power base that dictated the fate of the British Isles. Dublin is named after the black Vikings. Pause, let it land. History tried to simplify this. They turned names like Svarti and Dubh into abstractions, but you can't erase the primary accounts. Thorhall, a large black man, the Dubh Gaul, the Black Danes. Eamar didn't just lead them, he sat on the throne. The Black Vikings didn't just visit history, they built it. They wore the crowns, they founded the dynasties, and it's all in the books they don't want you to read. Thousands are waking up to this truth. Are you one of them? Tap in, share the video, subscribe to the Swarthy channel. We're just getting started. The Black...
I agree with what has been said, but I don't agree with what has been said. There were no white Vikings. They were all black. And this, to this very day, is the reason why Iceland commemorates, not celebrate, but commemorates its pale-skinned citizens, of which they were called at that time Tamahus or Yoru. They were being picked up by the off the coast by the Vikings. Real talk. And they were put into slavery. Now, what happened after they got up under the Vikings? They might have soared up to leader role and become a Viking. But all of the Vikings were black. Now, this one is a little bit long, 20 minutes long. I'm gonna do like I always try to do. I'm gonna do 15 and 13. But you gotta realize that we're at war here. These white boys killing this planet and killing this planet, everybody on them without a care in the world. And it's in our food, in our water, in our air, in the soil, you name it. Poisoning. About 2 podcasts back, I showed where white people are creating HIV to kill black people. This wasn't back in the 80s. This happened this month. In the newspaper article dated from the 14th to the 21st, like 6 days ago. Really 13 days ago. Excuse me. 13 days ago. And I forget, it was in the African newspaper. And they saying that white people are creating HIV something to infect black people with. Race specific. So tonight we're going to look at this. They put a hole in his head, stole baby, and ate us. If you don't know by now, I don't know what to tell you. Hold on. I want to add another video to this. I don't know what to tell you to calm me down or to keep you going or whatever. But the shit is real. These people are not like us. They're not our friends. They're our worst fucking enemy. Outside of the ones that we see that look like us, because not all skin people are kin people or kinfolks. Not all skin folks are kinfolks. And you can see that happening with Traore. You gotta kill some of his own people. because they can't let go of it all in regard to the old status quo. I'll be right back.
Imagine being 5 years old. You don't fully understand the world yet. You trust the adults around you, your mother, your teachers, the doctors. Now imagine those trusted adults trusted the wrong people and handed you over to be used as a test subject in a brand new state-of-the-art ringworm cure. Only it wasn't a cure for ringworm. It was a twisted experiment being conducted by the government. You survived, but for the rest of your life, for the next 80 years, you carry the evidence of what they did to you. A wound, a hole, right there on your head. And every single day, you have to hide it under a wig so the world doesn't see what America did to you. And his story isn't some isolated incident. It's part of a long documented pattern of the United States government using Black Americans as human guinea pigs. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a history that many people never learned in school. We're going to talk about what happened to Vertus Hardeman. But first, we need to understand the world he was born into, a world where Black bodies were seen as expendable, as tools for medical experimentation. My blog post, how to write an ebook in 7 steps. I just pasted the URL here, clicked Fed. Hello, strangers. Welcome back to The Strange Bar and Grill. I'm your host, JP. Today I'll be discussing the story of Vertus Hardeman. I also have a compilation of bonus stories from this year, so this will be my last video of 2025. I'll be taking some time off work and hanging out with family and just sitting around the house, taking a little break. Now, before we get to Vertus, I need to set the stage, because what happened to him didn't happen in a vacuum. It was part of a pattern that stretches back centuries. During slavery, enslaved people were routinely experimented on by doctors. One of the most famous cases involves a man named James Marion Sims, often called the father of modern gynecology. Sims performed experimental surgeries on enslaved women without anesthesia, with the sole purpose of developing techniques that would later benefit white patients. These women had no choice. They couldn't say no. Their bodies belonged to someone else. They were seen as property. This guy said he would do whatever the hell he wants to them. But this mentality didn't end with slavery. In 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service launched what would become one of the most infamous medical experiments in American history, the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. They enrolled 600 black men from Macon County, Alabama. About 400 of them had syphilis. The men were told they were receiving free medical care for bad blood, which was a blatant damn lie. In reality, the government wanted to study what happens when syphilis goes untreated. So even after penicillin became available as a cure in the 1940s, these men were never offered treatment. They were just watched, studied, left to suffer, left to die, and they passed the disease on to their partners and their children. This experiment ran for 40 years, from 1932 to 1972. It only ended when a whistleblower leaked the story to the press. Then there's Henrietta Lacks. In 1951, doctors at Johns Hopkins took cells from her cancerous tumor without her knowledge or consent. Those cells, known as HeLa cells, turned out to be extraordinary. They could survive and multiply indefinitely in a lab, making them invaluable for medical research. Scientists used them to develop the polio vaccine, study cancer, and even research C-19 treatments decades later. Henrietta's cells have been bought and sold for billions of dollars. Her family lived in poverty, unable to afford health insurance, while companies profited from her body. They didn't know her cells had been taken until 25 years after her death. And it doesn't stop there. In 1973, 2 young sisters from Montgomery, Alabama, Mary Alice Relf, age 12, and Minnie Lee Relf, age 14, were surgically sterilized without their consent. Their mother, who couldn't read or write, was tricked into signing a form she thought was for birth control shots. Instead, her daughters were robbed of their ability to ever have children. When the Southern Poverty Law Center investigated, they found that an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 poor people were being sterilized every year under federally funded programs. Tuskegee, Henrietta Lacks, the Relf sisters. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are documented facts, court cases, congressional hearings, presidential apologies. This was the world Vertus Hardeman was born into.
Hold on.
Vertus Hardiman was born on March 9th, 1922, in a small, tight-knit community called Lyle Station, Indiana. This was one of the few black-owned settlements in the state, founded by freed slaves before the Civil War. The people there looked out for each other. In 1927, Vertus was just 5 years old. He wasn't even technically enrolled in school yet. He was too young. But that year, word spread through the community about a new treatment being offered at the local county hospital, a treatment for ringworm. Ringworm was a common fungal infection at the time, especially among children. It caused itchy, scaly patches of the scalp. So when parents heard there was a new cure being offered, they were interested. Who wouldn't want their child healed, right? 10 children from Lyle Station were selected for this treatment. They were loaded onto a school bus and driven to the hospital. Vertus was one of them. His mother sent him along with his older brother, trusting that the doctors would help. But this wasn't a treatment. It was an experiment. The children were subjected to high doses of radiation. The goal was to study the effects of radiation on the human body, and they needed test subjects. Black children from a poor rural community were easy targets. Their parents couldn't read the permission slips. They didn't understand what radiation meant. They just wanted their kids to get better. All 10 children experienced the same symptoms afterwards: severe headaches, dizziness, an intense burning sensation on their scalps, and then one by one, their hair fell out permanently. But Vertus got the worst of it. During his treatment, something went wrong. A nurse reportedly shouted, "Oh my God, I've given him too much." Those words would haunt Vertus for the rest of his life. The radiation didn't just burn his scalp. It ate through his skull. It left behind a gaping, open wound that would never heal. The tissue around it became necrotic, constantly dying and regenerating, a cycle of pain that lasted for 80 years. From that day forward, Vertus Hardiman wore a wig. Every single day he wore it to hide what they had done to him. The parents of those 10 children tried to fight back. They hired a lawyer. They filed a lawsuit against the hospital, arguing that they had been misled and tricked. But this was 1927 in rural Indiana. These were poor black families going up against a medical institution of demons. So of course, they lost. The hospital was found not liable. The case was dismissed, and Vertus Hardiman was left to deal with the consequences alone. Despite everything, Vertus didn't give up on life. He graduated with honors from Lincoln High School in Princeton, Indiana in 1941. He did it while hiding his wound every single day, enduring constant pain and facing ridicule from classmates who mocked him for wearing a wig. After graduation, he moved to California and got a job at Los Angeles County General Hospital, ironically, the same kind of institution that had destroyed his body. Records show he had perfect attendance. He worked hard. He kept his secret. For 70 years, almost no one knew what was underneath that wig. Vertus rarely complained. He rarely talked about what happened to him. He just lived his life, day after day, carrying this wound that no one else could see. It was only in his final years that he finally opened up. He met with a man named Wilbert Smith at church. They became close friends, and one day, Vertus broke down and told Wilbert the truth. He showed him what he had been hiding all those years. Wilbert was horrified, but he also recognized the importance of Vertus's story. Together, they decided to document it, to make sure the world would know what happened to those 10 children in Lyle Station.
Vender libros en Amazon ya no es lo que era antes. Las reglas cambiaron y la mayoría sigue aplicando con...
Wilbert Smith wrote a book about Vertus called A Hole in the Head, A Life Revealed. He also produced a documentary film by the same name. In it, Vertus finally removed his wig for the camera. The footage is hard to watch, but it's the truth. The documentary shows the wound that radiation left behind, a massive, fluid-filled lesion that exposed portions of his brain. After decades, that wound would become cancerous. It was the radiation still killing him slowly after all those years. Vertus believed the experiment was racially motivated. He said so himself, and when you look at the pattern, Tuskegee, Henrietta Lacks, the Ralph sisters, and countless other cases, it's hard to ignore it. In 1994, President Bill Clinton established the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. The committee investigated decades of government-sponsored radiation tests on human subjects, many conducted without consent, many targeting vulnerable populations. And no, that's not a special shout-out to Bill Clinton, especially all these pictures coming out with him hanging out with Epstein and shit, but he passed the bill, that's all I'm saying. Vertus Hardiman's case is now cited as one of the earliest examples of these experiments, but acknowledgement came too late for Vertus. He died on June 1st, 2007, at the age of 85. The cancer that started in his radiation wound finally took his life. Despite everything he endured, Vertus Hardiman never expressed bitterness. He once said, "If you're angry, that means your heart is not right." Alright guys, that's going to be it for today. I know that was a short one, but I do have a compilation of some of my other favorite videos from this year coming up, so make sure to stick around and rewatch some of those. And if you're new here, they're new to you, so go ahead and watch them again. But let's go ahead and give a shout out to the members. I forgot to do this on the last video. We're up to 11 members, by the way. So shout out to Huff Mommy, K Britt 2509, Michelle Ramsey 752, Shay M 5645, DK the God, Franklin Jones, Laura Notek, By Capricorn, Joanne Johnson 2481, Wilbur Grantham 5779, and I think this is pronounced Miss VWAG 2020, MRSVWAG 2020. Hopefully I got that right. If I didn't, correct me in the comment section. Alright guys, stick around, we got some more videos coming up. In America's not so distant past, a hospital birth was supposed to be a moment of joy, but for dozens, perhaps hundreds of black mothers across the United States, that joy was shattered by these devastating words: "Your baby didn't make it." But what if those babies didn't pass? What if they were stolen, taken from their mothers without consent, and placed into a secretive adoption network? This is a story that has emerged from the shadows of American healthcare history. A story of exploitation, racism, and the fight for truth decades later. Homer G. Phillips Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri was once one of the few hospitals training black doctors and nurses during segregation. But in 2015, a shocking pattern began to emerge when Zella Jackson Price, then 76 years old, was contacted by a daughter she never knew existed. Hello strangers, welcome back to the Strange Bar and Grill. I'm your host, JP. Today we have a story that is going to shock most parents. What would you do if you thought your child died at birth, then one day you get a knock at your front door that sends your life into a tailspin? In 1965, shortly after giving birth at Homer G. Phillips, Zella Jackson Price was told by hospital staff that her baby didn't make it shortly after giving birth. She never saw a body, never received a death certificate. 50 years later, that supposedly dead infant, now a grown woman, found her biological mother through DNA testing. After this reunification made headlines, 17 other black women who had given birth at Homer G. Phillips between the 1950s and the mid-1960s came forward with eerily similar stories. All were young. Most were low income. Many have delivered premature infants. All were told their babies had died shortly after birth. None were allowed to see the bodies. To understand how this could happen, we must examine America's history of controlling black women's reproduction. Throughout slavery, black women's fertility was commodified. The children born into bondage as property. After emancipation, the medical establishment often portrayed black mothers as unfit. By the early 20th century, the tradition of black midwifery, which had served communities for generations, was systematically dismantled. Hospital births under white physicians became the standard, particularly as states created laws restricting midwifery practice. By the 1950s, black Grammy midwives, who had delivered 75% of black babies, were pushed out of practice through racist policies and medical restrictions. In these segregated healthcare settings, black patients were often subjected to experimentation, neglect, and exploitation. Medical decisions were frequently made without their consent or knowledge, a practice with roots in slavery, when enslaved women were used for gynecological experiments without anesthesia by physicians like J. Marion Sims, once celebrated as the father of modern gynecology. But he was far from a hero. He was a sick, twisted man. According to investigations and legal documentation, these supposedly deceased infants may have been channeled into private adoption networks. The demand for healthy black infants among middle-class black families who couldn't have children created a market. And anytime there's a market for something, it will be exploited. And guess who's easy to exploit?
75% off.
Hold on.
2 bonus guides, tracked delivery. What's left to think about? It's a spiral.
Hospital staff, including doctors, nurses, and administrators, allegedly facilitated these unauthorized adoptions for substantial fees. So they were out here just living that high life while selling babies with no remorse. The system was devastatingly simple. Tell the birth mother, often young, unmarried, or facing her first pregnancy, that her baby had died. Move quickly to process paperwork without allowing the mother to see the body. Place the living infant with an adoption agency or directly with the family willing to pay significant fees. The birth mother, devastated and often sedated, would return home to mourn a child who was actually alive and being raised by another family. So let that sink in. You're at home crying your eyes out for a baby that was just kidnapped and sold to another family, but you thought your baby passed away. For the adoptive families, who may have had an idea of the criminal origins of these adoptions, these children were cherished additions. Many adoptees grew up loved and well cared for, never knowing the traumatic circumstances of their separations from their birth mothers. But I imagine many others were not loved and cherished. Many others were probably abused. And who knows what these adoptive parents told these children as they got older. Did they say their parents passed away? Did they say their parents were on drugs? Did they say they were criminals? Who knows? When attorney Albert Watkins began representing these women in 2015, he discovered a pattern. The women weren't seeking financial compensation. They simply just wanted to know the truth. They wanted birth and death certificates, hospital records, any documentation that might help them understand what happened to their babies. But those records proved difficult to find. Hospital administrators and former staff denied any wrongdoing, of course. Helen Wallace, a former head nurse at Homer G. Phillips, told reporters, "None of my staff members would have ever done anything like that." Others claimed only doctors were authorized to tell mothers their babies had died.
So I'm going to hold it there. Let's see. We got 12 more minutes left. Let me just say this to all of my family, not only in America, but around the world. And for those who will hear this video. At what time and then at what moment do we say enough is enough? Stop beating the shit out of these motherfuckers. They mean no harm. They mean no good. They mean all the harm in the world. Doctors, nurses, ambulance people, all these motherfuckers who have taken the oath to do the right thing, they're part of the KKK. They are part of the KKK. Don't ever think that some white boy, some white girl mean all the good for you. Maybe. Maybe not. More maybe not. Because they are not our friend. They play that good white folks wannabe, but the minute you start talking about reparations, we can't do that now. That's not part of the program. I never had a slave. Were you a slave when you were born? When you came into the world? Are you a slave now? Why should I pay for reparations? And shut the fuck up. It's always some shit. But the Japanese got reparation, the Indians got reparation, the Latinos got reparation. But somehow, some way, black people can't do that. Black people can't get reparations for the harm done. I'll be right back.
Basically shifting blame in a system where accountability had long evaporated. The truth began to emerge through DNA testing. As genetic ancestry databases grew in popularity, more people began discovering biological connections that contradicted what they'd been told about their origins. Some adoptees learned they weren't voluntarily given up, they were taken. They were stolen. They were kidnapped. The pain they must have felt due to these separations can't be measured. Mothers spent decades grieving children who never actually died. Many suffered depression, questioning what they might have done wrong during pregnancy. The trauma echoed through generations. For those fortunate enough to find their children and parents decades later, the reunions brought complicated emotions, joy mixed with rage at the years stolen from them. For every story of a reunion, countless others remain unresolved. Mothers who went to their graves never knowing their children lived, children who may never discover their true origins.
I learned that ChatGPT works best with detailed prompts, but I hate typing them. So instead,
While the Homer G. Phillips hospital cases received significant attention, they weren't isolated incidents. Similar allegations have emerged involving other hospitals that primarily served black communities across America. The true scope remains unknown, as many records have been destroyed, hospitals closed, and witnesses passed away. These cases exist within the broader context of America's shameful statistics on black maternal and infant health. As the Centers for Disease Control reports, black infants still die at more than twice the rate of white infants. Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. These disparities have deep historical roots in the same systems that enabled babies to be taken from their mothers. And let's not forget that there's a lot of doctors currently now, modern times, that think black people don't feel pain in the same way that white people do, which is crazy to me. It's like, you're a doctor. How in the hell do you not know that? The story of black babies taken from hospitals isn't just history. It's living trauma for families still searching for answers. It reveals uncomfortable truths about America's medical system, how racism infected care, how vulnerable populations were exploited, and how the effects continue to reverberate today. Today, a new generation of advocates fight for accountability and healing. Black midwives and doulas reclaim traditional birthing practices. Community organizations demand transparency from medical institutions. Families continue searching for connections severed decades ago. But what do you all think? I mean, it's pretty sick that these hospital staff would literally tell women that their children are dead just to sell them. Sell them on the black market, let's be honest here. They would lie in their face, gaslight them. And these mothers would go on believing that their child died. And they'd be wondering, what did I do wrong? How is this my fault? Right? Because that's typically what happens. You blame yourself when something goes wrong. The whole time, it's crooked-ass doctors. In New Orleans in 1834, in the French Quarter, at 1140 Royal Street, stands a magnificent mansion owned by Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a woman of high society, known for her elaborate parties and her so-called grace. Behind the facade lies a chamber of unspeakable horrors. On April 10th, 1834, smoke rises from the LaLaurie kitchen. Neighbors rush to help, but Madame LaLaurie seems strangely unconcerned with saving her slaves. When they ask about her servants, insisting everyone must evacuate, she coldly tells them to mind their own affairs. But the neighbors persist. In the smoke-filled kitchen, they find a 70-year-old woman chained to the stove by her ankle. Her body bears the marks of starvation and abuse. Through tears, she confesses she started the fire herself. Better to die in flames, she whispers, than be taken to the room upstairs. Those who go to the uppermost room, she says, never come back. What the rescuers discover in that uppermost room defies human comprehension. 7 enslaved people, suspended by their necks, their limbs stretched and torn. Men and women, starved to skeletons, bearing wounds that speak of systematic, deliberate torture. Iron collars with spikes turned inward, chains that have cut to the bone. One man has a hole in his skull filled with maggots, evidence of crude surgical experimentation. Others show signs of having been flayed alive, their wounds festering. The stench of death and decay overwhelms even the hardened rescuers. The New Orleans Bee would report 7 slaves, more or less horribly mutilated, were seen suspended by the neck, with their limbs apparently stretched and torn from one extremity to the other. This was madness and the logical endpoint of a system that declared black bodies as property. Madame LaLaurie had been caught before when she chased a young enslaved girl named Leah with a whip until the child leaped from the roof to her death rather than face more torture. The authorities fined her and ordered her slave sold, but she simply had relatives buy them and return them to her house of horrors. After the news broke of her torture house, an angry mob would descend on her mansion, but Madame Lalaurie would escape in her carriage, fleeing to France, where she will live comfortably until her death in 1849. To make matters worse, the tortured survivors are then taken to the jail, not for protection, but for public display. 4,000 New Orleanians filed past to gawk at their mutilated bodies, as if they were curiosities rather than human beings. The LaLaurie Mansion still stands today, a tourist attraction where ghost tours make entertainment of black suffering. But the true horror is not supernatural. It's the system that allowed such atrocities, that saw black pain as a racist person's prerogative, black bodies as objects for experimentation and disposal. But even Madame Lalaurie sadistic tortures pale compared to what happened on the high seas, where isolation allowed even darker depravities. 3 years after Lalaurie's escape, on November 23rd, 1837, dawn breaks over the Caribbean Sea. HMS Snake, a British naval vessel, spots a suspicious brig on the horizon, a Portuguese slave ship called the Arrogante. Captain Alexander Milne, a seasoned officer who has seen many slave ships, boards the vessel and is shaken to his core. He would later write to his brother about seeing actual skeletons with death in their faces, dead children lying about the deck, and the living pointing to their mouths, calling for food and water. Of the 470 Africans forced aboard in West Africa, many of them children, 138 are already dead, but the survivors, especially the children, have a story to tell, a story that British authorities will refuse to believe, but I believe them. Let me take you back to what happened on that ship, days before its torture. They called him Mina, described by witnesses as a yellow man, likely of mixed heritage. The Portuguese sailors force alcohol down his throat. Then they drag him forcefully behind a cell that they've put up to hide what they're doing to him. His half-sister, Sadia, just a little girl, watches in horror. Then came the scream that haunted the survivors forever. Sadia! Sadia! They're killing me! Oh, they kill me! Saru, a girl about 12 or 13, peeks through the holes in the cell. She watches in horror as the sailors draw a long knife across Mina's throat. Blood pours across the deck, dripping through the boards into the hold below, where hundreds of Africans are chained in darkness. Young Nango, trapped below deck, later testified about seeing drops of blood coming through the deck, while someone above cried, "They are killing me!" But the horror has only begun. The sailors butcher Mina's body like an animal. They cut off his head, hands, and feet, throwing them overboard. The rest they carve into small square pieces. Young Saru, positioned near the kitchen, sees what happens next.
If you want to shock everyone by Christmas, tomorrow we're starting with the Winter Tai Chi walking plan, designed to...
The sailors put most of the meat in the large cooking pot meant for the Africans, mixing it with rice, but they keep something separate in their own pot, Mina's heart and liver. And then these supposedly civilized Christian men feast. The next day, the enslaved Africans are presented with their daily meal, rice mixed with a strange meat. It smells wrong and it tastes wrong. Those near the kitchen know exactly what it is. The meat has human hair in it. It's red, with no bones, and tastes different from anything they've eaten before. Those who refuse are beaten savagely with ship ropes. Many are beaten to death. 8 months later, in Montego Bay, Jamaica British magistrates conduct their own investigation. 24 witnesses testify. Children who saw the murder with their own eyes. Their testimonies are consistent, detailed, horrifying. But Magistrate Finlayson dismisses them as merely the imaginings of traumatized children. He cannot believe that European sailors, Portuguese Christians, would engage in such things. I mean, you're engaging in slavery. The mental gymnastics is insane. Lyndon Howard Evelyn, One of the few officials who believes the children argues passionately for justice. He points to the consistency of the testimonies, the matching details, the impossibility of such a coordinated lie among traumatized children. But his colleagues prefer comfortable denial. Lieutenant Miller, who took command of the ship after his capture, insists nothing could have happened without his knowledge. He describes the Portuguese captain as inoffensive and incapable of such acts. He bases his opinion partly on 2 English-speaking Africans found on board, but fails to mention that both spent the entire voyage chained below deck and couldn't have witnessed anything. Young Saru pleads with them. I saw it. I saw them kill him. I saw them eat his heart, but Magistrate Facey suggests she's confused, that perhaps she saw them preparing pork. Kali, Mina's half-brother who learned fluent English in just 9 months, angrily retorts that the only pig on board was still alive when the British arrived. They know what they saw, but Kali is labeled a troublemaker because he complained about his assigned master in Jamaica. The investigators prefer the testimony of Bamboo, a 12-year-old cabin boy who claims he saw nothing, even though witnesses place him at the scene. Clearly he was in fear of his life and said what they wanted him to say, but ultimately they chose a story that preserves their superiority. The case is dismissed. The Portuguese sailors go free, returning to the slave trade. The survivors are forced into apprenticeships in Jamaica, their testimonies buried in colonial archives. Years later, Sadia's bitter words echo. They killed my brother. They fed him to us. They ate his heart. And the British, they called us liars, said we imagined it. But I know what I saw. We all knew. The Arrogante uncovers a truth more terrifying than any ghost story. When men believe others are less than human, they become capable of acts that surpass their worst accusations against their victims. The slavers who called Africans cannibals became cannibals themselves. The civilized became savage. The Christians in this story became demons.
Hold on. So we are here. We got this one, ground beneath Mississippi River splits at alarming speed. This one is, instead of the uranium reactors or nuclear reactors, we now have thorium, which is a hell of a lot safer than uranium. And this one doesn't mean anything. I was just looking to see if I could find another one that we could play. So we're going to erase this one, and then I added this one. Black unity threatened America. Why J. Edgar Hoover said black unity was a national security threat. So we're down to our last 3. And I just want to make sure that, you guys, please make a comment, do something. What's going on? You got any questions? Something. If you don't want to do none of that, put a thumbs up, man, on the show. I'm really trying to make it better each and every time that I'm on the show. So this one has to deal with the Mississippi River. So as you know, according to the Madrid Fault, the Mississippi River raised itself up by 12 to 15 feet. It changed the course of the Mississippi. And this one is 23 minutes, so I'm going to do 13 and 10. I'll be right back.
Is the pace of change accelerating now, rather along a stretch of the Mississippi River that carries more freight than any inland waterway on the continent? An unexpected transformation has been quietly unfolding beneath the surface. Barges continue to pass, river gauges still post daily readings, and towns on either bank appear unchanged. Yet measurements taken over recent months indicate that the earth below the river is separating faster than many observers anticipated. How can solid ground beneath one of North America's most studied rivers begin to part without obvious surface chaos? What forces could be acting far below the muddy current, and why is the pace of change accelerating now rather than decades earlier? The Mississippi River has long been treated as a stable constant in the geography of the United States, even as its channel migrates and its floodplain breathes with seasonal cycles. It stretches roughly 2,340 miles, or about 3,760 kilometers, from its headwaters in Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico. Over centuries, it has carved, filled, and reworked its valley, leaving behind a patchwork of sediments that range from coarse sands to fine silts and clays. These deposits, layered sometimes hundreds of feet thick, form the foundation beneath modern navigation channels, levees, bridges, and cities. What has drawn attention now is not the familiar lateral wandering of the river, but a vertical and horizontal separation developing within those buried layers. Data gathered from riverbed mapping, subsurface imaging, and repeated elevation surveys show zones where the underlying materials are pulling apart at rates measured in inches per year, translating to several centimeters annually. In isolated sections, cumulative separation over a decade approaches the width of a small vehicle, roughly 6 feet, or about 1 8/10 meters. Such movement does not occur evenly along the river's length. Instead, it clusters in segments where ancient geological boundaries intersect with modern hydraulic forces. The pattern suggests an interaction between deep structures in the Earth's crust and the immense weight and motion of the river above. The Mississippi Valley sits atop a complex geological framework shaped long before the river existed. Beneath the layers of sediment lies an old rift system, a zone where the continental crust once attempted to split apart hundreds of millions of years ago. Though the rifting failed and the continent remained intact, the scars persist as faults and weakened rock. Over time, these structures became buried under sediment eroded from distant mountains and carried southward by ancestral rivers. The modern Mississippi follows this inherited lowland, unknowingly tracing lines of ancient weakness. Under normal conditions, such deep structures remain largely inactive. The present concern arises from evidence that stress is being redistributed in ways that allow those weaknesses to reopen incrementally. The river itself plays a role. At any given moment, the Mississippi can carry millions of tons of water and sediment. During high flow, the pressure exerted on the riverbed increases substantially. When water levels drop, that pressure is released. Repeated cycles of loading and unloading act on the sediments below like a slow, persistent pump. Measurements show that where the river is deepest, often exceeding 100 feet or roughly 30 meters, the underlying layers experience the greatest strain. Sonar surveys reveal subtle troughs and fissures forming along the channel floor. These are not sudden ruptures, but progressive separations, widening by fractions of an inch over months. Over years, those fractions accumulate. The alarming aspect is not a single dramatic break, but the steady pace at which the separation is occurring.
Hold on.
Stop! Let me tell you about the Instadoodle Christmas offer for just 20.
Compounding this process is the nature of the sediments themselves. Much of the Mississippi's foundation consists of water-saturated sands and silts. Under pressure changes, these materials can compact, shift, or flow. When confined laterally, they tend to settle downward. When lateral confinement weakens along fault lines, they can move apart. In sections where older, stiffer layers underlie softer deposits, differential movement develops. The softer material responds more readily to stress, opening voids that propagate upward. Navigation dredging, a routine activity intended to maintain shipping channels, introduces another variable. Each year, millions of cubic yards of sediment are removed from the riverbed, equivalent to several million cubic meters. While dredging targets surface deposits, it alters the distribution of weight and the shape of the channel. Over time, these changes influence how forces are transmitted downward. Areas repeatedly dredged show a higher correlation with measured subsurface separation, suggesting that human modification, though indirect, contributes to the trend. Flood control infrastructure also plays a role. Levees confine the river more tightly than at any point in its natural history. By preventing water from spreading across the floodplain, they concentrate flow energy within the channel. During major floods, water depths can exceed 50 feet, about 15 meters, in places where historic floods would have spread out over miles of lowland. The increased depth translates into increased pressure on the riverbed, intensifying the load cycles experienced by the subsurface. Despite these changes, the surface expression remains subtle. Bridges spanning the river show no immediate signs of distress. Levees continue to perform as designed. This apparent normalcy has delayed public awareness. The separation occurs tens to hundreds of feet below the riverbed, hidden beneath opaque water and layers of sediment. Only through repeated measurements has the trend become clear. The speed of separation has drawn particular concern. Geological processes often unfold over thousands or millions of years, measured in millimeters per century. Here, the observed rates reach inches per year. When converted, that equates to several centimeters annually, a pace more typical of active tectonic boundaries than stable continental interiors. While the Mississippi Valley is not an active plate boundary, its buried structures provide pathways for movement when conditions align. Historical records offer context. In the early 19th century, a series of powerful earthquakes shook the central Mississippi Valley, altering the course of the river in places and creating temporary waterfalls. Those events occurred along the same ancient rift system now implicated in the subsurface separation. While no comparable earthquakes have occurred in recent decades, the current measurements suggest that stress continues to accumulate and release in quieter ways. The implications extend beyond geology. The Mississippi River corridor supports a vast economic network. Ports, pipelines, cables, and foundations rely on assumptions of ground stability. Even gradual separation can affect these systems over time. A pipeline crossing a zone widening by several inches annually would experience strain, accumulating year after year. Similarly, bridge piers anchored into sediments that are slowly pulling apart may face differential movement long before visible damage appears. Environmental effects are also emerging. As subsurface layers separate, pathways open for groundwater movement. Changes in groundwater flow can alter the chemistry of wetlands and backwaters connected to the river. In some areas, monitoring wells have recorded shifts in water levels and turbidity coinciding with zones of separation. These changes are subtle, measured in inches or centimeters, yet they signal a reorganization of subsurface plumbing. Riverbed habitats may also be affected. Fish species that rely on stable substrates for spawning could encounter altered conditions as sediments shift. While no mass die-offs have been attributed to the separation, biologists tracking long-term trends note correlations between changing bed forms and habitat use. Again, the changes are incremental, aligning with the gradual nature of the underlying process. What makes the situation particularly challenging is the difficulty of attributing cause with certainty. No single factor explains the observed pattern. Instead, the evidence points to a convergence of natural geological weakness, altered hydrology, and sustained human modification of the river system. Each factor alone might produce negligible change. Together, they appear sufficient to drive the current rate of separation.
The internet is the biggest wealth creation engine to ever exist. Sadly, only a relative few.
Publicly available maps illustrate the pattern with clarity. When overlaid, zones of greatest separation align with known subsurface faults and with sections of the river that have been most intensively engineered. These maps do not predict sudden collapse or dramatic rupture. Rather, they show a slow but persistent opening, like a seam gradually unzipping beneath the river's weight. Officials responsible for river management have acknowledged the measurements but emphasize that existing infrastructure was designed with margins of safety. They note that no immediate operational changes are planned. At the same time, internal reports recommend expanded monitoring, including more frequent surveys and deeper imaging. The emphasis remains on observation rather than intervention, reflecting the absence of a clear remedy for processes occurring so far below the surface. For communities along the river, the phenomenon remains largely abstract. There are no warning sirens, no visible cracks on riverbanks, no sudden drops in water level. The Mississippi continues to flow at familiar speeds, measured in miles per hour or kilometers per hour depending on location, carrying sediment loads quantified in tons or metric tons per day. Life along its banks proceeds as it has for generations. Yet the numbers continue to accumulate. Inches become feet, centimeters become meters given enough time. The pace observed today suggests that changes once expected over centuries could manifest within decades. That realization has prompted renewed attention to the region's deep geological history and to the cumulative effects of modern river management. As researchers compile longer time series, a clearer picture is emerging of how the Mississippi's immense energy interacts with the earth beneath it. The separation is not random, nor is it uniform. It follows lines drawn long before the river itself existed, lines that were merely dormant rather than erased. Understanding why those lines are opening now, and what that means for the future of the river corridor, requires looking beyond surface processes and into the hidden architecture below. As the record lengthens, the separation beneath the Mississippi River no longer appears as an isolated anomaly, but as part of a broader physical adjustment taking place across the valley.
Now let me stop it here and try to reflect on what it's all about. As I said, hold on, let me look that up. The Madrid Fault. Madrid Fault runs from what to what? What to what? Okay. The New Madrid seismic, so the major seismic zone and prolific source of intraplate earthquakes in the southern and midwestern United States. The New Madrid seismic zone, sometimes called the Madrid Fault Line, is a major seismic zone and a prolific source of intraplate earthquakes in the southern and midwestern United States, stretching to the southwest from New Madrid, Missouri. The New Madrid Fault System, from southwest, stretching from the southwest from New Madrid, Missouri. The New the New Madrid Fault System was responsible for the 1811-1812 New Madrid earthquake and has the potential to produce large earthquakes in the future. So, the New Madrid Fault, also known as the New Madrid Seismic Zone, runs approximately 150 miles from northeastern Arkansas through north and southeastern Missouri, western Tennessee, and western Kentucky to southern Illinois. So you can pretty much know how big that is. The New Madrid Fault. I'm just doing it. Hold on. I'm not going to run this video, but you can see where the target is. All of this area is about 1 million square miles of damage. Here, the 50,000 square miles of damage is right here in California. It's 20 times more. And so, if you add the nuclear reactors that are on the line, here's another one. You get it, right? More danger than the New Madrid Fault. Oh shit. So hold on. You get the East Tennessee seismic zone and the New Madrid Fault. So there's another one. Yeah, it's cooked, ladies and gentlemen. It's cooked. So what I wanted to do, I'm not going to play this one. I was just trying to visually let you guys know what this is, but I never knew about this one. It's the East Tennessee seismic zone. We're in trouble, people. So when you look at this, of what is going on in Mississippi, and how different areas have different levels and sediments and fracture, it's going to be hell to pay when the Madrid Fault happened. A lot of the bridges and highways and byways and everything associated with the Mississippi River is a very important economic zone and ecosystem that's going to be uprooted. That's what this video is all about. And when you combine that with what I just seen, the Tennessee seismic zone, and look at this one. This one, the 1 minute ago, massive section of California coastline collapsed. Millions in danger in California. So it's a recipe for disaster. And America is in no way, shape, form, or fashion ready for this. We're going to have to really haul in every ounce of effort. I'm trying to find the word that this is going to bring. It's not going to destroy America, but it's going to destroy it as we know it. It's going to be a new America. And like I said before, the only person or people who can save it is the black man or woman. And once we get it back, you white boy, you're not getting it back because you're woefully ignorant and very, very, very irresponsible. Let's continue. We got 10 minutes left.
What once seemed like scattered measurements now align into a continuous pattern extending across multiple states. In some stretches, the widening occurs over distances of 10 miles, roughly 16 kilometers, while in others it tapers off within a few thousand feet or several hundred meters. This uneven distribution reinforces the idea that the river is responding to something embedded deep within the earth rather than generating the change on its own. Repeated subsurface scans indicate that the separation is most pronounced where sediment thickness reaches its maximum. In certain reaches, unconsolidated deposits exceed 3,000 feet, or just over 900 meters, before solid bedrock is encountered. These thick accumulations act like a buffer, absorbing stress but also magnifying deformation when stress thresholds are crossed. When pressure shifts occur, the upper layers may flex without consequence, but deeper layers respond by pulling apart along pre-existing planes of weakness. Seasonal patterns add another layer of complexity. During prolonged high water periods, when the river swells across its confined channel, the added mass presses downward with extraordinary force. Calculations based on water density and depth show that a rise of just 10 feet, about 3 meters, across a wide channel can increase downward pressure by thousands of pounds per square foot, or several tens of kilopascals. When waters recede, that pressure eases. Over many cycles, the repeated loading and unloading acts, much like bending a metal bar back and forth. Even without a single dramatic failure, fatigue accumulates. What distinguishes the current phase from earlier centuries is the absence of natural release valves. Historically, floodwaters spilled across vast floodplains, dispersing energy over hundreds of square miles, equivalent to thousands of square kilometers.
La manera perfecta de comenzar 2026. Una dosis diaria de autocuidado para tu rostro. Adivina su edad. Tengo 28 años.
Today, levees restrict that spread. The river's power is concentrated, not diluted. The result is a more focused transfer of force into the subsurface. Over time, that force finds the weakest routes available, which in this case are ancient structural seams buried deep below. Another factor lies in the gradual lowering of the riverbed in some engineered reaches. Decades of dredging and channel straightening have increased flow efficiency, allowing water to move faster. Average current speeds in these sections have risen by fractions of a mile per hour, translating to tenths of a kilometre per hour. While seemingly minor, faster flow increases erosive potential. Sediment removal at depth subtly alters the stress balance, encouraging underlying layers to adjust by spreading laterally. Satellite-based elevation data provide an additional perspective. Although the changes are small, on the order of inches or centimetres, they are consistent. Slight subsidence along the river corridor coincides with zones of deeper separation. This suggests that as lower layers pull apart, upper layers settle to fill the space. The surface response is gentle enough to escape casual notice, yet precise instruments capture it clearly. Taken together, these observations narrow the field of explanations. The separation is not driven by a sudden external shock, nor is it a sign of an impending surface rupture. Instead, it reflects the gradual reactivation of an ancient structural system under modern conditions. The Mississippi River, massive and persistent, acts as both trigger and amplifier. It does not create the weaknesses, but it exploits them. The mystery that lingered through early reports centered on why this was happening now. Ancient faults have existed for hundreds of millions of years. The river has flowed for thousands. The missing piece lies in timing. Only in the last century has the river been so thoroughly confined, deepened, and managed. Only in recent decades have measurement tools become precise enough to detect changes measured in fractions of an inch. What appears sudden is, in reality, the moment when long accumulating stresses crossed a measurable threshold. This realization reframes the concern. The ground beneath the Mississippi River is not splitting in defiance of natural order. It is responding exactly as physics would predict when old structures meet new forces. The speed is alarming, not because it signals imminent collapse, but because it compresses geological change into a human timescale. Inches per year, or centimeters annually, are slow in daily life, but rapid in Earth history. For planners and engineers, the focus shifts from preventing the separation to accommodating it. Infrastructure designed under assumptions of static ground may need reassessment. Monitoring networks are likely to expand, capturing not just where the ground is moving, but how quickly and in which direction. The goal is foresight, rather than reaction, recognizing that subtle changes today can shape significant outcomes decades from now. For the river itself, the process is another chapter in a long record of adaptation. The Mississippi has always reshaped its valley, sometimes violently, sometimes quietly. This phase belongs to the quieter category, unfolding beneath opaque water and layers of sediment, detectable only through careful measurement. Yet its implications reach outward, touching commerce, ecology, and the long-term stability of one of the continent's most critical corridors. Understanding the separation beneath the Mississippi River ultimately requires accepting a less comforting view of stability. The landscape may look unchanged, but it is never truly still. Beneath the steady flow of water, the earth adjusts, responding to forces both ancient and modern. The mystery resolves not into a single dramatic cause, but into the convergence of time, pressure, and inherited weakness, finally visible because conditions aligned and tools improved.
Herbs don't help you heal unless you activate them. Let me explain. It's like
The question that remains unresolved at this stage is whether the accelerating separation represents a temporary adjustment or the early phase of a longer transformation. The measurements alone cannot yet distinguish between those possibilities. What they do show is that the ground beneath the Mississippi River is not as static as once assumed, and that its movement, though quiet, is measurable and ongoing. The underlying reason for the acceleration and its broader significance will become clearer only when the full pattern is assembled, piece by piece, from the depths upward. As the record lengthens, the separation beneath the Mississippi River no longer appears as an isolated anomaly, but as part of a broader physical adjustment taking place across the valley. What once seemed like scattered measurements now align into a continuous pattern extending across multiple states. In some stretches, the widening occurs over distances of 10 miles, roughly 16 kilometers, while in others it tapers off within a few thousand feet, or several hundred meters. This uneven distribution reinforces the idea that the river is responding to something embedded deep within the earth, rather than generating the change on its own. Repeated subsurface scans indicate that the separation is most pronounced where sediment thickness reaches its maximum. In certain reaches, unconsolidated deposits exceed 3,000 feet, or just over 900 meters, before solid bedrock is encountered. These thick accumulations act like a buffer, absorbing stress, but also magnifying deformation when stress thresholds are crossed. When pressure shifts occur, the upper layers may flex without consequence, but deeper layers respond by pulling apart along pre-existing planes of weakness. If you found this video informative and valuable, please like, share, and subscribe. Tap that hype icon to help this video reach a wider audience and keep important developments like this in view.
My blog post.
Alright, so we're getting down to the last two videos. And like I was saying, there's an old black saying. I don't remember verbatim, but so hear me out. For every problem, there is a solution, and for every problem, there is a solution. And damn it. I don't remember because I don't. But basically, for every problem, there is a solution. You got to look for the motherfucker. And it's right sometimes in your face. And so as we move into China's world first thorium reactor, it's what should have been done in the first motherfucking place. Now you can't even travel in the Pacific Ocean because of the Fukushima disaster. Damn near every animal, plant, and you name it, that ocean is lifeless. And it has entered our, hold on, it has entered our food supply. Hold on. So when you look at our food supply, the acceptable before the Fukushima reaction and poisoning of the ocean, which is now damn near everywhere, let's say we were like 10, an acceptable FDA amount of radiation. Do you know they increased it to about 150, 200? I don't worry, it's okay, it's all right. 100, 150, 200 radiation. I don't know how you measure radiation. But it's 150. It's okay, you'll be okay. Ain't no problem. But wait, wasn't it 10 before? I'm just saying, you know. And so we're going to play this one all the way out and get to our last video. And I'll be right back. The funny thing about it is that America was on top of it. They just gave up on it. And China took it over and found a way to use thorium. Just listen to it.
Facility that looks more like a space station than a power plant. Chinese engineers just achieved what nuclear scientists have been dreaming about for 70 years. On a seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning, their thorium molten salt reactor hit a milestone that sent shockwaves through the global energy community. For the first time in human history, a nuclear reactor successfully refueled itself while continuing to generate power. No shutdown, no cooling period, no massive industrial ballet of removing fuel rods and installing new ones. The reactor just kept humming along, producing clean electricity.
God damn it. Damn near 11 o'clock at night in the Dominican Republic. They got these fools riding around playing music at this time. But this ain't no goddamn disco, bitch. But these are the young people. But anyway, let's continue.
Electricity while continuously feeding itself new fuel. Think about that for a moment. Every nuclear power plant you've ever heard of, from Chernobyl to Fukushima to the ones powering your city right now, they all have to shut down for weeks or months just to change their fuel. It's like having to turn off your car, drain the gas tank, and rebuild the engine every time you need to fill up. But China's thorium reactor? It's like a car that refuels itself while driving down the highway at 70 miles per hour.
Check out the difference between this same sentence being dictated into Siri versus Whisperflow. Let's meet at 12.
Here's where this story gets absolutely incredible. Traditional nuclear reactors run on uranium, specifically uranium-235, which makes up less than 1% of all uranium on Earth. Finding enough uranium-235 to power the world's reactors is like searching for diamonds in a beach full of regular sand. Thorium is the opposite. There's so much thorium on Earth that we literally don't know what to do with it all. Mining companies currently treat thorium as waste because there's been nowhere to use it. China alone has enough thorium reserves to power their entire country for 20,000 years. 20,000 years. That's longer than human civilization has existed. But here's the crazy part. Thorium can't actually power a reactor by itself. It's like having a pile of wet wood that won't burn no matter how many matches you throw at it. You need to transform it first. And that transformation happens inside the reactor while it's running. The reactor literally creates its own fuel as it operates. Chinese engineers discovered how to make this process so efficient that their reactor produces more fuel than it consumes. It's a nuclear reactor that grows more powerful over time, like a campfire that gets bigger every time you add a log. The breakthrough isn't just the thorium. It's the revolutionary way China designed the entire system. Traditional nuclear reactors are basically giant pressure cookers filled with solid fuel rods and water. The water gets so hot it turns to steam, but it's all trapped under enormous pressure. If something goes wrong, that pressure can explode outward with devastating force. China threw out that entire design and started from scratch. Their reactor uses molten salt instead of water, liquid salt heated to over 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit. The thorium fuel dissolves directly into this molten salt, creating a thick, glowing liquid that flows through the reactor like lava. Here's the brilliant part. If the reactor overheats, the molten salt expands and actually slows down the nuclear reaction automatically. It's like a car that automatically slows down when the engine gets too hot. And if there's ever a serious problem, they simply drain the molten salt into underground tanks where it cools and solidifies harmlessly. No meltdown, no explosion, no radiation release. The laws of physics literally make it impossible for this reactor to have a Chernobyl or Fukushima-style disaster. But the most incredible breakthrough is how they solved the refueling challenge. Traditional reactors have to shut down because their fuel is locked inside solid metal rods. Removing these rods and installing new ones is like performing surgery on a patient. You can't do it while the heart is still beating. China's liquid fuel system changes everything. Since the thorium dissolves directly into the molten salt, they can add new thorium and remove waste products while the reactor keeps running at full power. It's like being able to change your car's oil while driving on the freeway. The Chinese team developed a continuous processing system that works like an incredibly sophisticated coffee filter. Fresh thorium flows in, waste products get filtered out, and the reactor never misses a beat. This single innovation eliminates weeks of downtime and makes their reactors dramatically more efficient than anything else on Earth. Let's talk about the scale China is planning, because these numbers are absolutely staggering. Their current test reactor produces 2 megawatts of power, enough to supply electricity to about 1,000 homes. That might not sound like much, but it's just the beginning. By 2030, China plans to have a 10 megawatt demonstration plant operational. That's enough power for 5,000 homes, but they're not stopping there. The ultimate goal is 100 megawatt commercial reactors, each one capable of powering 50,000 homes with 0 carbon emissions and virtually no nuclear waste. Here's where it gets really incredible. China is planning to build dozens of these reactors, potentially hundreds. They're targeting their arid western regions first, places like Xinjiang and Inner Mongolia, where water is scarce and traditional power plants struggle to operate. Remember, these thorium reactors don't need massive amounts of water for cooling like traditional nuclear plants. They can operate in deserts, on mountaintops, even in underground facilities. China is essentially planning to turn their most remote and inhospitable regions into clean energy powerhouses. Other countries are watching China's breakthrough with a mixture of amazement and alarm. The United States pioneered molten salt reactor research back in the 1960s, then abandoned it for uranium-based reactors. Now, American energy companies are scrambling to restart thorium programs that have been dormant for decades. India, which has some of the world's largest thorium reserves, just announced a massive acceleration of their thorium research program. They're talking about leapfrogging directly to thorium reactors without building more traditional uranium plants. Even European countries are suddenly interested. France, which gets 70% of its electricity from nuclear power, is quietly funding thorium research projects. The UK is considering thorium reactors as part of their net zero carbon strategy. But here's the thing. China has a 10 to 15 year head start. While other countries are still drawing blueprints, China has a working reactor that's already producing power and proving the technology works. This breakthrough isn't just about clean energy. It's about economic power on a scale that could reshape global trade relationships. Countries that master thorium technology first will have access to virtually unlimited clean electricity. That means cheaper manufacturing, more efficient data centers, unlimited desalination for fresh water, and industrial processes that are currently impossible with expensive fossil fuel energy. China is already planning thorium-powered industrial complexes that could manufacture steel, aluminum, and other energy-intensive products at costs no other country can match. Imagine trying to compete economically with a country that has access to electricity that's essentially free and unlimited. The implications go even deeper. Oil exporting countries that have built their entire economies around fossil fuel exports are watching nervously. If thorium reactors can provide unlimited clean electricity, the global demand for oil and natural gas could collapse far faster than anyone predicted.
hold on.
The engineer.
So let me say this. As you know, BRICS is in motion. That is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now through the AES system of economic and political, the juggernauts that are being created from that. We'll soon have all 55 countries in Africa connected and running together, along with the global South that includes Russia. Russia tired of these motherfuckers. They said, oh no, we're going to stick with Mother Africa because we know who she is. And so as we rev up and move forward, you're going to see China coming to the aid of Venezuela, which is what it is. This is a pact between the global South and all of its members for one global domination to get rid of the dollar. And they have already done that with the PAPS payment system for Africa. And now the petrodollar is now the petro silver. You got to pay in silver to deal with Saudi Arabia and the oil that they had. You can't pay in dollars. The dollar doesn't mean anything anymore. There's no force and effect in the dollar. And so what happened to America, as I covered, it goes down the drain. It becomes like I don't know. It becomes like a no account source. Because if you look at it, the military section of America depends on 80% of its resources or gets its resources from Africa. 80%. So if Africa decides not to send over the resources that supports the military of America, America is done. It'd be like a little bitch sitting on a corner selling his pussy. It's done. There's no more. So let's get back to China, and we'll wrap it up with J. Edgar Hoover.
Engineering challenges China solved to make this work are absolutely mind-blowing. Molten salt at 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit is incredibly corrosive. It eats through most metals like acid through paper. Chinese engineers had to develop entirely new materials that could withstand decades of exposure to this environment. They created special alloys that form protective barriers when exposed to molten salt. These materials actually get stronger over time, developing crystalline structures that become more resistant to corrosion. It's like armor that repairs and improves itself. The continuous fuel processing system required inventing entirely new chemical separation techniques. They had to figure out how to extract specific radioactive isotopes from flowing molten salt while maintaining exact temperature and chemical balance. One small mistake could shut down the entire reactor. Chinese scientists developed robotic systems that can perform these incredibly precise operations in an environment where human workers could never survive. These robots operate in temperatures that would melt copper, in radiation fields that would be instantly lethal, performing chemical processes more complex than anything in modern industry. Perhaps the most impressive aspect is how Chinese engineers made their thorium reactor essentially accident-proof. Traditional nuclear reactors require constant human intervention to stay safe. Operators have to monitor hundreds of systems and make split-second decisions to prevent disasters. China's thorium reactor is designed with what engineers call passive safety. The laws of physics automatically prevent dangerous situations from developing. If the reactor gets too hot, the molten salt expands and slows the nuclear reaction. If there's a power failure, gravity automatically drains the molten salt into safe storage tanks. The reactor literally cannot melt down because the fuel is already molten. It cannot explode because there's no high-pressure water system. It cannot release significant radiation because the molten salt traps radioactive particles better than any containment system ever built. Traditional nuclear reactors create radioactive waste that remains dangerous for 10,000 years, longer than recorded human history. This waste has to be stored in specially designed facilities and monitored constantly to prevent environmental contamination. China's thorium reactor produces waste that becomes harmless in about 300 years. That's still a long time, but it's manageable within normal human timescales. Even more importantly, thorium reactors produce about 99% less waste than uranium reactors. The small amount of waste they do produce can actually be recycled into the reactor as fuel. Chinese engineers are developing closed-loop systems where virtually nothing gets thrown away. Everything gets reused until it's completely consumed. China's plan to deploy these reactors in their western deserts is absolutely brilliant from a strategic perspective. These regions have been economic backwaters for centuries. Too hot, too dry, and too remote for traditional industrial development. But thorium reactors thrive in exactly these conditions. They don't need water for cooling, so drought isn't a problem. They're small and modular, so they can be transported to remote locations. They produce so much electricity that they can power energy-intensive industries that would be impossible anywhere else. China is essentially planning to transform their least valuable real estate into their most strategically important industrial regions. They're talking about thorium-powered manufacturing cities in the middle of deserts, connected to the rest of the world by high-speed rail and ultra-high voltage power lines. The global nuclear industry is scrambling to respond to China's breakthrough. Companies that spent billions developing traditional uranium reactor technology are suddenly facing the possibility that their investments could become obsolete overnight. International nuclear regulators are struggling to develop safety standards for thorium reactors. The technology is so different from traditional reactors that existing regulations don't even apply. China is essentially writing the rulebook as they go, giving them enormous influence over international standards. Some countries are proposing international cooperation on thorium research, hoping to prevent China from achieving a complete technological monopoly. But China has already invested so heavily in thorium technology that catching up would require other nations to spend hundreds of billions of dollars over decades. China's timeline for scaling up thorium technology is incredibly aggressive. Their 10-megawatt demonstration plant by 2030 is just 7 years away. If they hit that target, they'll prove that thorium reactors can operate reliably at commercial scale. The really ambitious goal is those 100-plus megawatt commercial reactors. Each one would be a massive industrial complex capable of powering entire cities while producing hydrogen, desalinated water, and high-temperature industrial heat for manufacturing.
Hold on.
Chinese energy planners are already identifying sites for dozens of these facilities. They're talking about thorium reactor clusters that could produce more electricity than the Three Gorges Dam, the world's largest hydroelectric project. Here's what makes this story absolutely fascinating from a geopolitical perspective. What happens when one country has access to essentially unlimited clean electricity while everyone else is still burning fossil fuels? China could offer thorium reactor technology to other countries, creating energy dependencies that could influence international relationships for decades. Countries that adopt Chinese thorium technology would rely on Chinese expertise, Chinese fuel processing capabilities, and Chinese technical support. Alternatively, China could keep the technology to themselves, using their energy advantage to dominate global manufacturing and industrial production. Imagine trying to compete economically with a country that has access to electricity costs near zero. China's thorium breakthrough is potentially the beginning of a complete reorganization of global economic power. In just 7 years, when their 10-megawatt demonstration plant comes online, we'll know if this technology can truly deliver on its revolutionary promise. But here's the question that should keep every world leader awake at night. What happens when China starts offering this technology to other countries? Which nations will they choose as partners, and which ones will be left behind in the fossil fuel age? Because the decisions made in the next 5 years could determine the balance of global power for the next century. The thorium revolution has begun, and China just fired the first shot in what could become the most important technological race of our lifetime. Think this thorium reactor breakthrough is mind-blowing. Wait until you see what happens when China decides to build a bridge taller than the Eiffel Tower in one of the most dangerous mountain ranges on Earth. We're talking about a structure so impossibly high that commercial jets have to change their flight paths to avoid it. The Millau Bridge in France was supposed to be the engineering limit. China just shattered that limit and built something 300 feet taller. Check it out right here.
¿Ves este clavo?
Wow. So you know what the future brings. And not just China, but all of Africa and the diaspora. Look at all the things that we enjoy today, that we use every day. The car, the motor, the spark plug, the computer, all of these things come from black people. Imagine what the future holds for us and our future generation. It's mind-boggling. To be able to regrow your arm, your leg, they're already doing the heart. You don't have, if you got a bad heart, they can take your heart, rinse it clean, if I can say that, of all of its cells of old, get the basic model of your heart, do a complete overhaul, nothing surgical, except for the removal of your heart, and redo the stem cells, that whatever problem you had with your heart, you will never have it again. They put it right back in you. You don't have to worry about organ rejection, and this happens with all of your organs. Imagine where a world where you can design your baby. It's mind-boggling. And to have a book of life called The DNA, which you can mix and match and do this and do that. Incredible. Not only from a physical standpoint with your body, but from travel standpoint, not only on Earth and making it quicker, but to be able to travel through space, be just like Star Trek. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that's going on that is mind-boggling. That at 52, and I'm hoping I can live another 50 and be able to see some of this stuff. Man, it's unreal. So we are going into our last video before I get into the X and to see if anything and everything I want to talk about for the night. So we're going to get into this one, and this is an AI lady, an AI sister, you know what I mean? So we'll see what she says.
J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI, literally declared that black people coming together was a threat to America's national security. Not foreign enemies, not actual terrorists. Us, united. That tells you everything you need to know about how much they fear us when we're together and why they'll do anything to keep us divided. Let me take you back to 1967 to a memo that should be required reading for every black person in America. J. Edgar Hoover, the director of the FBI, the man who ran federal law enforcement for nearly 5 decades, wrote that the goal of the FBI's counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO, was to prevent the rise of a black messiah who could unify and electrify the militant black nationalist movement. Read that again. Prevent the rise of a black messiah who could unify us. That wasn't about crime. That wasn't about violence. That wasn't about protecting America from external threats. That was about making sure black people stayed divided, stayed weak, stayed unable to organize effectively for our own liberation. Because they knew then what we need to remember now. When black people come together, when we're unified, when we move as one, we're unstoppable.
Stop! Let me tell you about the Instadoodle Christmas offer.
For just 20, and that terrifies them. COINTELPRO, short for Counterintelligence Program, was established in 1956, officially to combat communist influence in America. But very quickly, its primary target became black activists, black organizations, and black movements. The FBI didn't just surveil us. They actively worked to destroy us from the inside. They infiltrated our organizations with informants and provocateurs. They spread lies and rumors to create internal conflicts. They forged letters to make it seem like leaders were betraying each other. They used media contacts to plant negative stories about black activists. They worked with local police to harass, arrest, and sometimes eliminate black leaders. This wasn't conspiracy theory. This was official FBI policy, documented in their own memos, exposed through their own files. Let me give you some examples of what they did, because this is important. You need to understand the lengths they went to in order to keep us divided. They targeted the Black Panther Party ruthlessly. They infiltrated chapters across the country. They had informants create conflicts between members. They spread rumors that certain Panthers were government snitches, causing internal suspicion and paranoia. They coordinated with local police to raid Panther offices, arrest members on bogus charges, and in some cases straight up eliminate Panther leaders. Fred Hampton, the 21-year-old chairman of the Illinois Black Panther Party, was taken out in his bed by Chicago police working with the FBI in 1969. They drugged him first through an FBI informant, then shot him while he slept. That wasn't law enforcement. That was assassination. That was the government eliminating a young black leader who was successfully building unity, creating breakfast programs for children, free health clinics, and bringing together different groups, including white activists and Latino organizations. They went after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with everything they had. They bugged his hotel rooms. They recorded his private conversations. They sent him anonymous letters trying to blackmail him, literally telling him to take his own life before his alleged affairs were exposed. They tried to destroy his marriage. They tried to discredit him in the media. They tried to prevent him from receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. And why? Because he was unifying people. Because he was building a movement that crossed racial and economic lines. Because he was evolving from just talking about civil rights to talking about economic justice, about the Vietnam War, about connecting the struggles of all oppressed people. That Poor People's Campaign he was organizing when he was taken out, that was about building a multiracial coalition of poor folks, black, white, Latino, indigenous, coming together to demand economic justice, and they couldn't allow that. They targeted Malcolm X through similar tactics. They had informants in the Nation of Islam and in Malcolm's organization after he left. They worked to exacerbate the tensions between Malcolm and the nation. They spread disinformation. They created chaos. And when Malcolm was taken out in 1965, the FBI's fingerprints were all over the circumstances that led to it, even if they didn't pull the trigger themselves. They created the environment of suspicion, paranoia, and conflict that made it possible. They went after the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC. They infiltrated. They spread rumors. They created divisions between moderate and radical members. They worked to destroy the organization from within. They did the same to the Congress of Racial Equality, CORE. They did it to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. They did it to every major black organization that showed signs of building real power, real unity, real ability to challenge the status quo. And here's what's critical to understand. The main tactic was always division. They didn't just try to destroy these organizations through external pressure. They destroyed them from the inside by making us distrust each other, fight each other, suspect each other. They understood something fundamental. They can't beat us when we're together. But if they can make us fight each other, if they can keep us divided, suspicious, unable to trust or organize, then we beat ourselves. That was the whole strategy, and it worked. By the mid-1970s, most of these organizations were shadows of what they'd been, not because they'd been defeated in battle, because they'd been poisoned from within. Now, fast forward to 2025, and let me tell you something. They're still doing it. The tactics have changed. They're more subtle now, more sophisticated. They don't need COINTELPRO memos anymore because they figured out how to make us divide ourselves. But the goal is exactly the same. Keep black people from unifying because unified black people are a threat to the system that exploits us. Think about the divisions they promote in our community right now. Black men versus black women. That's not natural. That's engineered. Every week there's some new viral debate about dating preferences, about who should pay for dates, about 50-50 bill structures, about body counts, about natural hair versus weaves, about who's more oppressed, and we fall for it every single time. We spend our energy arguing with each other instead of organizing together. We let social media algorithms, which are controlled by who? Not us. We let them feed us content designed to make us angry at each other. And it works. Colorism. Light skin versus dark skin. That division goes back to slavery when they gave house positions to lighter skinned enslaved people and field positions to darker skinned ones. Divide and conquer. Make us think we're fundamentally different based on shades of the same color. Make us compete for proximity to whiteness instead of building power together as black people. And in 2025, we're still falling for it. We're still letting shade determine how we treat each other, who we date, who we hire, who we promote. That's not us being naturally divisive. That's centuries of programming working exactly as designed. Class divisions. Educated versus non-educated. Professional black folks versus working class black folks. Generational wealth versus first generation. Immigrants versus descendants of enslaved people. They love these divisions because they prevent us from recognizing that we're all dealing with the same system of white supremacy. Your degree doesn't protect you from racism. Your bank account doesn't protect you from police violence. Your professional success doesn't protect you from discrimination. But if they can make successful black people think they're different from struggling black people, if they can make us think it's about individual achievement instead of systemic oppression, then we won't unite to change the system. And let's talk about the delineation movement because this is important and timely. More and more Black Americans, specifically descendants of enslaved people in America, are coming together around the understanding that we have a specific history, specific claims, specific needs that are different from other Black immigrant groups. We're saying we deserve reparations specifically for what was done to us specifically. We're saying our political agenda should center our specific community. And you know what? The system doesn't like that. They don't like us organizing around that clarity. They don't like us building unity based on our shared lineage and shared oppression. So what do? They try to create division around it. They try to pit Black Americans against Black immigrants. They try to make it seem like we're being anti-African or anti-Caribbean when we're just being pro-US. They try to create conflict where there should be solidarity. They try to make other Black folks feel threatened by our organizing instead of inspired to organize for their own specific needs. Because when we're fighting each other, we're not fighting them. When we're arguing about who's Blacker or who deserves what, we're not demanding what we're all owed. Here's the truth they don't want you to know. Black unity is our superpower. When we come together, when we move as one, there's nothing we can't accomplish. We built this country's wealth through our stolen labor. We created entire musical genres that dominate global culture. We innovated technology, medicine, science, despite being locked out of institutions and resources. We survived slavery, survived Jim Crow, survived mass incarceration, survived every attempt to destroy us. Imagine what we could do if we were fully unified. Imagine what we could build if we stopped fighting each other and started building together. Imagine the political power, the economic power, the cultural power we'd have if we moved as one community with shared goals and strategies. They know this. They've always known this. That's why Hoover was terrified of a Black Messiah. That's why they destroyed every organization that successfully brought us together. That's why they still work to keep us divided today. Not because they're evil for evil's sake, though there's plenty of that, but because a unified Black America would fundamentally transform this country. We demand and receive reparations. We dismantle systems of oppression. We'd create institutions that serve us. We'd build generational wealth. We'd exercise political power that couldn't be ignored. We'd change everything. And they can't allow that because the current system benefits them at our expense. If they were smart, if they were strategic, they'd encourage our unity. They'd recognize that a thriving Black community benefits all of America. Our economic success means more consumers, more entrepreneurs, more innovation. Our political engagement means stronger democracy. Our cultural contributions already dominate globally. Imagine if we had the resources and freedom to create without constraint. A healthy, unified, empowered Black America would make this country stronger, richer, more creative, more just. But they can't see that. Their anti-Black culture, their deep-seated belief in white supremacy, their need to maintain dominance, it blinds them to their own interests. They'd rather keep us down, even if it means keeping the whole country from reaching its potential. This is why the Bible says in Proverbs that God has disdain for those who sow discord among people. There are 7 things God hates, and one of them is specifically one who sows discord among brothers. Think about that. Sowing division, creating conflict where there should be unity, that's considered an abomination. That's what COINTELPRO did. That's what the system still does. They sow discord among us. They plant seeds of division. They water those seeds with media narratives, economic competition, and social pressure. And then they watch us tear each other apart while they maintain power. But here's what we need to understand in 2025. We don't have to keep falling for it. We can recognize the game. We can see the tactics. We can choose unity over division. We can choose to build together instead of fight each other. We can recognize that the arguments they want us to have, the divisions they want us to maintain, those serve their interests, not ours. Every minute we spend arguing about whether black men or black women have it worse is a minute we're not spending organizing for policies that would help both. Every hour we spend debating skin tone hierarchies is an hour we're not spending building black-owned businesses that would employ all of us. Every day we spend fighting over who's more authentically black is a day we're not spending demanding reparations that would benefit our entire community. We need to study COINTELPRO. We need to understand what they did to our leaders, our organizations, our movements, not to make us paranoid, not to make us suspicious of everyone, but to make us aware, to make us strategic, to make us recognize division tactics when we see them, because they're still using them. The methods have changed, but the mission hasn't. Keep black people divided. Keep black people fighting each other. Keep black people from unifying, because unified black people are still, in 2025, the greatest threat to white supremacy. So what do? We choose unity intentionally. We build coalitions deliberately. We focus on what we share instead of what divides us. We recognize that black men and black women need each other. We acknowledge that all shades of black are beautiful and equally deserving of respect. We understand that educated and working class black folks are part of the same community facing the same system. We see that black Americans and black immigrants can both fight for their specific needs without being enemies. We build organizations with awareness of infiltration tactics. We create structures that can't be easily destroyed from within. We develop leadership that's collective rather than dependent on one charismatic figure. We use technology to organize but stay aware of surveillance and manipulation. Most importantly, we remember what Hoover feared most: a unified black community led by someone who could electrify us, bring us together, make us move as one. We don't need one messiah. We need all of us to be leaders in our own right. We need all of us to commit to unity. We need all of us to reject the divisions they try to create. Because when we come together, when we move as one, when we organize with clarity and purpose, we're exactly what they've always feared: unstoppable. They declared black unity a threat to national security because they know it's a threat to their power. They know it means the end of the system that benefits them at our expense. So let's be that threat. Let's be unified. Let's be organized. Let's be clear about our goals and strategic about our tactics. Let's learn from COINTELPRO so we don't repeat those mistakes. And let's build the future our ancestors fought for, the one where black people are free, prosperous, powerful, and united. That's what they fear most. So that's exactly what we should become.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are basically at the end at the end of the program. So I wanted to come back here to X and to just to go through all of the things that I've been able to post on X. Let's see. This is one: genetically engineered rice with human genes. Who the fuck want rice with human genes in the bitch? You see this white boy? They got genetic 3D printed meat. Who the fuck is white boy? Who gave you the right to try to determine what we're gonna eat? Bitch. We got bombada nuts, ground nuts. We got other things that we consider to be weeds that we can eat. That's been feeding generations, civilization for thousands of years. But somehow, some way, you stupid motherfuckers made those look like weeds. It's not weeds. Here we go with white privilege. Quarterback Max Hall busted for shoplifting and cocaine. Oh, he needs some empathy. He needs help. He needs healing. Richard Sherman, thug, was uttered 625 times on American television the day before or following the Seahawks win. That's bullshit. Hockey is a black sport created by black people. I'm not gonna, go through that, but it is what it is. And you see that this is Brian and Cynthia. What is it? The monitor who killed Sandra Bullock? Was it not Sandra Bullock? That's the actress. Sandra something, and he was a KKK member. I don't know if he still is or not. I'm probably he still is. I'm gonna put it like that. And fuck white people trying to organize to commit to do away with racism. They're not doing away with that. We're just gonna go through these. Here is a straight up admission. Cousin of Thomas Jefferson. These Israelites, talking about black people, and other free African Americans worked as farmers, craft people in Appomattox River. Here, the origin of the attack on King James. But if you follow me on X, you know what this is. Isaiah Israel 15. You can find me. Did you know many of the blonde and red-headed Vikings were black-skinned? They were black. The white one came later, if they came at all. The maker of COVID tests said pandemic is the biggest hoax ever perpetrated. White boy, we already know you killed more than everybody put together times 1,000. What the hell? What's going on? It was back more than that. What happened? Well, I guess it's not going to show me everything that I put here. So, all right. Let me see. For Saturday, this is Saturday night. For Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be covering, economically speaking, the impact of what XRP and Bitcoin and all that means and what is going on in the Sahel in Africa and now in Africa, because we're getting awfully close to the day that after the United States of Africa comes online. That's what I want to say. So hold on. I'm going to go here to my channel. And my channel for is a WMB of Lies and Deceit. So you know. And where is it? Hold on, man. What's going on? Hold on, people. Yeah, I guess, yeah. So if you want to see some of my older videos that has Supreme African News on it, please do so. What in the world is going on? Playlist. Hold on. I'm just gonna playlist. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. So yeah, this was I put everything under.
Now I use Whisperflow. I just think out loud and it creates perfect formatted text on any Apple website. Whisperflow
So let's see. So for Tuesday night, we're going to be covering that along with the other things. Now, hold on, the message. Okay, yeah. So this is one of the things I
This
really
device
found.
from ancient Egypt shouldn't exist, but it does.
Hidden in a tomb, untouched for millennia,
Look at that.
researchers...
Gears, 3,000 years or more. We weren't dumb. My brother and sister, we weren't dumb.
found a mechanism with gears, precision cuts, and moving parts, centuries ahead of its time. It's like finding a computer in the age of pyramids.
You feel me?
Oh, because you're...
Oh, hold on. Oh, shit. Hold on. Let me get that back. Why did I do that? Boy. Hold on, let me bring that back up. So we got the playlist. Let me go right back to the playlist. You got here. Okay, so we got that gear. Yeah. So the last thing that you seen right there was Billy Graham talking about who the real Jews are. So Tuesday night we're gonna be covering that to the fullest, and what's going on with the world economically speaking. So I just want to make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover tonight. Okay, well, that's cool. All right. So we're out of here. We're gonna wrap it up, and I don't know what the hell happened with my ex. Hold on, let me try to see. Okay, so they replied. Oh yeah, I put it under the post, not the reply. Okay. Well, hold on, let me see, because I'm not going to be here for too much longer. Okay, that's what it was. I should have been looking under replies. So let's go on back down to where this could be. And we'll be out of here in a few more minutes. That's it. Because I'm tired now. It's 11:30 here. 9, 10, 11, 3.5 hours. Okay, it's about that. Now this white boy, man, his brother Jake Paul, these motherfuckers about the most schemingest motherfucker going. How in the fuck does he get into the ring with a heavyweight? And he's not a boxer at all. They're scamming people, man. But they made over $150 million. But people fall for it, they fall for it. Fuck it. Let's see. We already know that Columbus was a black guy. He wasn't that. That's not what you think it is. And just playing. But anyways, let's see. So the black Habiru Israelite prophets, Jeremiah and Daniel were black men. So I mean, if you go to my X account, you'll be able to see all of this and what that means. Whew. Oh, now here we go. So here we have the white people as they were back then. These are not costumes. These were hairy people attacking our kings and queens in their castle. We're the ones who built castles. All right, so that don't believe the hype. Here they are again, and here they are again. These are tapestries that are all throughout Europe. They're not trying to hide who they are. All right. So there it is again. Here they are again. Water wolves. That's a complete fucking animal. And the animal is the person or people who eat other people. They were eating us literally. There it is, the water wolves, however you pronounce it. So let me get out of here and make up my last comment here. We are royalty. We are gods upon the planet. We are the black universe filtered down in human form that has been here since the beginning, whatever that beginning is, from billions of years. We're not going anywhere. This is our planet. This is our universe. This is our galaxy. It is the white boy who has perpetrated the fraud. The white girl, along with him, perpetrated the fraud, making things that look good, bad, bad, good. I'm sorry, or the bad, good, good, bad, injustice, justice, justice, injustice. How do you do that? How do you expect for things to go right with you that you're fucking over everything and everybody? It just doesn't work that way. Never have, never will. You reap what you sow, white boy. And so shall you reap. You're doing it now and it's just going to get worse. You will never, ever, your children, for all of eternity, you guys will never know peace in your mind and your heart will race with fear. Walk very gently and softly and don't look black people in the eye or the face because you're not good enough for that. There's no humility, there's no humbleness that you can show now because you don't mean the shit. We already know. So we're not going to be holding your hand, kumbaya, we're delineating and telling you and the world, fuck you. We're tired. The world are tired. We want to get rid of you and we're going to get rid of you. Because the world needs to be back into black people's hands. Because we are the only one that can bring back balance, ma'at, to the world. You're not it, white boy. You had your chance to do the right thing, and you fucked up. That's all I got to tell you. And believe my word, God's words have never come back void. It has always been fulfilled. You are dying in so many fucking ways outside of the physical, political, economic, spiritual. Because you're not worth a damn. You're not worth the time. You're not worth any drop of emotion or feeling or anything that will lessen the blow to you. You shall reap what you sow. I can't even imagine the horror of a mother whose stomach was sliced open as she hangs, damn near dead out of the neck, and she can feel the blade, razor sharp, cutting through her stomach. The baby falling out, and this white boy taking the heel of his shoe and digging it and stomping the baby in the chest over and over and over again. The alligator bait over and over and over again. The brother Shumpert, who was attacked by the police and the police dog, biting him in every which way but losing any which way it can, and in the genital area, getting beat by this white boy, police in Mississippi. Over and over, and he's asking, please stop. over and over. Please stop. Over and over. Please stop. It was never shown any mercy. Never. Gavin Newsom playing games with the reparations. Other people get their reparations. But niggas, no. You guys gonna wait. Okay. Cool. Okay. Cool. But you know what happened. When we say cool, what's gonna happen? So tonight, I really appreciate you guys for being here. I really, really appreciate that. And make comments, man. The only person that's making a comment is Brother Willie. Y'all ain't got no questions. Y'all ain't got nothing. I mean, come on, man. But I tell you this. Let people know there's a $10,000 reward for anybody who can come onto my show. I'll come on to this. And to prove to me that what I'm saying tonight, at any night or any other podcast that I've had about our history and their history, they're not going to do that with me. Because they didn't know I would chew them up and spit them out. I give no fucks. So, for the next 24/7, 365, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I really appreciate and love you. Stay blessed.